Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Invincible Sect Leader. The succubus disciples are scarred at the beginning. Chapter 41. Lang Luoli couldn't help but feel funny when she saw her master raising his head to the sky in order not to offend her. She just called out to master, but she just called out subconsciously, without any intention of reminding master. In fact, if master wants to take a look, it's okay, there's no need to hide it like this. However, the master had just told her to change clothes quickly so that they could practice together. Thinking of this, Lang Luoli didn't hesitate anymore. She returned to the room wrapped in a bath towel and started to change clothes. Soon after, Lang Luoli changed her clothes and walked out. She was wearing a light blue gauze dress, still with bare legs and no stockings, but the difference this time was that she tied a leg ring on her thigh. There are several ice blue flowers embroidered on this leg ring as decoration, which makes her slender legs even more attractive. Lang Luoli always likes to wear a pair of ice blue translucent high heels. Her original height is slightly higher than that of her senior sister and junior sister. After wearing these high heels, she looks even more slim. Her hair is also blue and is spread all over the back of her head, reaching to her waist. After putting on beautiful clothes, Lang Luoli was already eager to practice with her master. Arriving at the square, Lang Luoli passed by the stone chair where she and her senior sister were sitting together. The pot of tea was still placed on the tea table in front of the stone chair. Lang Luoli clearly remembered that when she wanted to drink tea, her senior sister mysteriously stopped her and refused to let her drink. Since this tea is brewed for master, senior sister will definitely not poison it. Then why not let her drink it? What shocking secret is hidden in it? Although Lang Luoli often looks like she doesn't care about anything, sometimes she is extremely curious. The senior sister wouldn't let her drink it, but she insisted on trying it. Driven by curiosity, Lang Luoli picked up the teacup on the tea table. After hesitating for a moment, she slowly moved it towards her mouth. At this time, Su Jiqian was still laughing at junior sister whose confession that failed, and her attention was not here. But in her peripheral vision, she saw the figure of junior sister Lang. She turned her head in confusion and noticed junior sister Lang's movements. Su Jiqian suddenly felt that something was wrong and ran over quickly, shouting at the same time. "No, don't drink it." But she was still a step too late. Lang Luoli drank the tea into her mouth. As soon as the tea entered Lang Luoli's mouth, she frowned. The smell is so strange, it smells like the body fragrance of a senior sister. Wait, why does the tea taste like this? Wow, senior sister, shouldn't she have added into the tea? When she thought of this, Lang Luoli couldn't hold back, and the tea spurted out directly from her mouth, like a human-shaped watering can. And Su Jiqian just ran to her side, and the tea sprayed all over her, making her drown. Su Jiqian smiled awkwardly, slapped her face with her hand, and said, It's true, junior sister Lang, senior sister even told you not to drink." Lang Luoli looked at her senior sister's expression, and her eyes became increasingly gloomy. "Even if she doesn't drink today, the teapot is dirty and can't be used. And senior sister, you actually gave this to master. Even if master can bear it, she can't bear it." Su Jiqian looked at junior sister Lang's expression and felt more and more something was wrong, so she ran away. "You still dare to run? Stop!" Lang Luoli shouted, and at the same time stretched out one hand. An ice staff formed from her hand, and chased in the direction of the senior sister. Chen Yi was holding Hu Juyu and watching Lang Luoli chasing Su Jiqian. He couldn't help but sigh that the relationship between senior sister and junior sister was really good. Just as she was sighing, she saw Lang Luoli summoning a huge ice pick with her staff and smashing it towards the back of the house where Su Jiqian was hiding. The house was blown into two halves in an instant, and Su Jiqian trembled with fright. Looking at this scene, Chen Yi smiled awkwardly and couldn't help but sigh again. The relationship between senior sister and junior sister is pretty good, right? The square of Tianshuan Palace is large enough for 2 monks from the innate realm to run around in it. However, this is not a good thing. If Tianshuan Palace had not been able to repair itself, it would have been demolished by the 4 masters and disciples long ago. The square of Tianshuan Palace is large enough for 2 monks from the innate realm to run around in it. However, this is not a good thing. If Tianxuan Palace had not been able to repair itself, it would have been demolished by the four masters and disciples long ago. The Tianxuan Palace is very large as a whole, and there are still many rooms that are empty. If only 4 people can live in it, it will look very empty. But with Lang Luoli and Su Jiqian making such a fuss, it seemed a lot more lively, as if there were thousands of troops. In fact, Tianxuan Hall is not just the main hall and square in the center, there are many independent buildings and courtyards around it. Chen Yi didn't observe it carefully, but the system introduced that it was a place for other types of monks to practice. There are many similar buildings and courtyards like this, forming a huge building complex around Tianxuan Hall. The entire building complex is collectively called Profound Heaven Sect. However, at this time, except for the 4 masters and disciples Chen Yi who lived in Tianxuan Hall, all other rooms were still empty. I don't know when more outstanding disciples will be gathered to make this sect truly lively. Chen Yi thought to himself, suddenly feeling more motivated for the future. There was only 1 day left before the destruction of the Sanyuan sect. Chen Yi felt that he should take advantage of this time to improve the strength of his disciples. Chen Yi waved to the second disciple and shouted, "Okay, stop playing, it's time to practice." When Lang Luoli heard the master's voice, the ice ball that had already condensed on the staff and was about to be released towards the senior sister was retracted in an instant. Then his ferocious expression changed, and he ran towards the master with a smile on his face, looking well behaved. Well, Lear is here. At this time, Su Jiqian was hiding behind a pile of ruins, her delicate face looking very embarrassed. Seeing that junior sister Lang stopped attacking, she breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the master is here, otherwise she might be doomed this time. Next time I make tea with flavored leaves for master, I'd better carry junior sister Lang on his back. The persistence of Su Jiqian increased. After a while, 3 disciples gathered in the square. Once the master was around, Lang Luoli became much happier. In other words, when the master was around, her other emotions were completely forgotten. Chen Yi looked at the 3 disciples in front of him. He wanted to make a training plan, but he couldn't help but look a little lost. The 3 disciples all have good looks, especially when they stand together, it becomes more obvious. Compared with the 2 senior sisters, Hujuyu's facial features are more 3-dimensional and exquisite. Her unique wheat-colored skin is very attractive under the sunlight. Her healthy appearance is very attractive. Lang Luoli's facial features are much colder, with a kind of beauty that is repellent to others. The more difficult it is to get, the more difficult it is to resist. Not to mention Su Jiqian, among the disciples, she is the most mature type. Her plump figure does not look bloated, but is just right. Her unique fox eyes seem to draw away people's soul, and the smell on her body also extremely lethal. Chen Yi felt without exaggeration that even if he didn't do anything and just stood here, he could stay awake all day long. The number of perverted masters has increased. Chen Yi was looking at the 3 disciples, and the 3 disciples were also looking at him intently. The air was extremely quiet. It was estimated that both people were thinking about the same thing at this moment. As expected of the 4 masters and disciples, they have a good understanding of each other. In the end, Chen Yi was the first to come to his senses. He shook his head suddenly and cheered up again. There are still many days ahead for him to see enough, but now is the time to practice. You shouldn't think too much. Thinking of this, Chen Yi waved to the 3 disciples and said, "The 3 of you are attacking me at the same time. Let me see how well you cooperate." Chen Yi first taught the 3 disciples one-on-one how to use the new technique. Now that they have almost practiced it, it is time to see the effect of the combination. The 3 disciples nodded together, then looked at each other and exchanged their offensive experiences. In the past, Lang Luoli and Su Jiqian often teamed up to fight against the enemy, and they already had a tacit understanding. However, it was relatively rare for them to fight against the enemy together with Hujuyu. After all, Hujuyu's previous talent was too weak and her strength was relatively poor, so she had no chance. Practicing together this time is just a chance to hone our mutual understanding. After a short discussion, the 3 finally adjusted their positions. Lang Luoli needed to accumulate powerful spell attacks and was weak in melee combat, so she stood at the back. Although Hujuyu has melee attack power, her moves require a long time to prepare, so she stands in position 2, next to Lang Luoli, and at the same time protects Lang Luoli. Su Jiqian, on the other hand, fulfills her position as the senior sister and stands at the number 1 position. She has both flexibility and aggression and can respond to various emergencies at any time. In the current situation where there are only 3 disciples, this is the best arrangement that can be done. Su Jiqian bowed politely to the master and shouted at the same time. Master, be careful, the disciple has taken action. As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly jumped out of the place, her spiritual power gradually gathered on her right palm, and the evil energy that soared to the sky gradually condensed. After the move was completed, he used the demonic palm to strike in the direction of the master. Because the purpose of this training was to enhance the cooperation of the 3 disciples, Chenyi did not directly smash the attack released by the eldest disciple, but chose to avoid it dexterously. Chenyi just flew away. After landing, he saw countless ice picks appearing around him and piercing his surroundings. The ice pick stuck firmly into the ground, forming a preliminary magic circle, trapping him firmly in it and making it difficult to move. This was a move from the skills he had practiced before, and it was integrated and mastered by Lang Luoli. Naturally, Lang Luoli's moves couldn't really trap Chenyi, but Chenyi didn't dodge immediately, but was curious to see what would happen. Soon, Hu Juyu released the immortal killing slash that he had accumulated for a long time. A powerful slash was mixed with countless earth and rocks on the ground, sweeping towards him like a roaring dragon. All this happened in an instant, and it only took a few seconds for the 3 disciples to discuss cooperation. Chenyi couldn't help but be shocked when he looked at the skills in front of him. The cooperation of the 3 disciples was surprisingly good. If the trapped person was not Chenyi, with such a round of attacks, the enemies in the Foundation Establishment realm would definitely die, and the enemies in the Divine Treasure realm would also be dead or injured. It's just that Hu Juyu's level is still a little lower than that of the 2 senior sisters. Once her level catches up, the power of the combos of the 3 disciples will only be more terrifying. After witnessing the joint offensive of the 3 disciples, Chenyi clapped his hands with satisfaction, indicating that they had done a good job. At the same time, they were further guided on their deficiencies in releasing moves and coordination. The 4 masters and disciples practiced together, no one else disturbed them, and time passed extremely fast. If necessary, monks can often stay awake for a long time and have plenty of energy. However, sometimes in order to maintain the best condition, we still take time to take a rest. A day passed in the blink of an eye, and the 4 masters and disciples meditated and rested together to regulate the spiritual power in their bodies. It wasn't until the afternoon that Su Jiqian opened her eyes. Today is the day when the Sanyuan sect will be destroyed. Seeing that the master has not made any move, she asked curiously. Master, the 3-day period is here, should we prepare anything? Chenyi remembered it after hearing the eldest disciple's reminder. The time spent practicing with his disciples always passed very quickly. In his eyes, these 3 days seemed to pass in the blink of an eye. Chenyi is already a monk in the Divine Treasure realm. Shouyuan has arrived for 1,000 years, and the passage of time has been difficult to detect in his eyes. After this period of practice, the 3 disciples have successively improved to a small realm. If we follow the normal pace of cultivation, it would be impossible to break through a small realm in just 3 days. But thanks to the unique spiritual power concentration of Tianshuan Palace and the special indoor hot spring, just 1 bath in this indoor hot spring is comparable to practicing outside for dozens of days. Coupled with Chen Yi's careful guidance, not to mention that they had been monks in this realm and were more experienced in cultivation, so their breakthroughs were extremely fast. Although Hu Juyu had just broken through, because his realm was relatively low and the breakthrough required less cultivation, he broke through a small realm again. Su Jiqian's realm has reached the innate realm 2nd layer heaven, Lang Luoli has reached the innate realm 3rd layer heaven, and Hu Juyu has reached the acquired realm 3rd layer heaven. By the way, at the very beginning, Su Jiqian's level was actually higher than that of junior sister Lang. However, the master's temperament changed drastically later on, and Su Jiqian often took desperate risks to protect her junior sister, so her level fell even more. Now that I have resumed my practice, it will take some time to catch up with junior sister Lang again. As for innate realm's disciple, Chen Yi gained 2,000 system points, and all 3 disciples added 1, for a total of 5,000 points, which made his empty savings a lot richer. Chen Yi stood up slowly and said, "The day is coming so soon. Let's make some preparations for the division, and then we will set off." Hearing the master saying that they needed to prepare, the 3 disciples looked over curiously, wanting to see what the master would prepare. When they first learned that the master was going to destroy the Sanyuan sect, they were all surprised. However, they also discovered that there were many mysteries surrounding the current master. However, out of trust in their master, they never asked about these things, nor did they care. As long as master can stay with them like this, nothing else matters. Under the gaze of the 3 disciples, Chen Yi came to the stone table. Chen Yi has the spiritual root talent produced by the system. He can instantly understand all the techniques in the world just by taking a look at them. This is why he can guide his disciples with ease. Chen Yi first spent 500 system points to exchange for a formation stone plate from the system store. The formation stone plate can have formations engraved in it. As long as a little spiritual power is injected into it, the formation stone plate can release the formations. It is very portable and easy to use. Taking out the formation stone plate and placing it on the stone table, Chen Yi casually took out the tools needed to carve the formation. Then he began to carve the formation on the palm-sized formation stone plate. The 3 disciples looked at Master's movements and were a little confused for a moment. Of course they recognized the portable formation stone plate, but what they were about to attack was one of the most prosperous sects in this continent. The strength contained in the portable formation stone plate can only be used occasionally to save lives, or to release unexpected attacks to disrupt the enemy. What does Master want to do by carving the formation stone plate? You can't use this to attack Sanyuan sect, right? Under the doubtful gazes of the 3 disciples, Chen Yi's hands moved rapidly on the formation stone plate. Soon after, a barrier formation took shape. The barrier formation can isolate the user and is used to defend against external attacks. However, on the other hand, people trapped in the barrier cannot get out of the barrier and must actively lift the formation. Therefore, in theory, as long as the range of the barrier formation is large enough, it can isolate a large area. Chen Yi's purpose in depicting this formation was not for defense, but to create an isolation formation that could cover the entire Sanyuan sect. Wait until the war starts later, just in case someone takes the opportunity to escape. He said that if he wanted to destroy the Sanyuan sect, he would destroy his entire family, and he would not leave anyone behind. Only by eradicating the root cause can future troubles be avoided. Chen Yi inherited all this specific memory, so he is well aware of the dangers of this world. Now that he decided to take action, he had no intention of giving the other party any room to survive. However, the ordinary barrier formation, engraved in this portable formation stone disc, is only within a few meters, and it is impossible to cover the extremely large Sanyuan sect. But Chen Yi had already studied the knowledge of the law manifestation not long ago, and now his understanding of the law manifestation can be said to be from ancient times to the present. He is not only the founder of the formation, but also the master of the mystery of the formation. He is an existence that jumps out of the 3 realms and is not in the 5 elements. Under the gaze of the 3 disciples, their expressions gradually changed from doubt and curiosity to horror. Due to limitations in materials and volume, the level of formations depicted on formation stone discs is generally not too high. In this continent, most formation stone discs are still at the Huang level, and Zan level is already the top heaven level. But under their gaze, the formation stone plate carved by the master gradually rose from the mysterious level to the earth level and the heaven level, and it didn't even stop. The 3 disciples all looked at their master in disbelief. If they had any doubts about whether the Sanyuan sect could be destroyed before, they have completely given up their worries now. To carve such a high-level formation stone plate requires more spiritual power than you can imagine. As for the master who can mobilize so much spiritual power, his current strength may have long been invincible in this continent. Soon after, the power contained in the formation stone plate was still increasing. But when they go up, they don't know what level it is, they have never heard of it, and they have never seen it. While Chen Yi was carving out the formation, he was improving it, integrating all his understanding of the formation into it. It's done, Chen Yi said. After it was finally over, he looked at the formation stone plate in front of him and nodded with satisfaction. The level of formations contained in this formation stone disk has exceeded the limit that can be seen in this world. It should be easy to trap people from the Sanyuan sect. The three disciples looked at the rune stone plate carved by their master and were so shocked that they were speechless. Master created such a large isolation formation, so he probably didn't intend to leave any Sanyuan sect alive. The three of them didn't feel the slightest bit inappropriate about what Master did. They even felt that what Master did was completely reasonable. Master who strikes decisively is even more handsome. After carving the formation stone plate, the sun was already showing signs of setting. In order to be an honest and trustworthy monk, Chen Yi must solve the Sanyuan sect before midnight. Thinking in his heart, Chen Yi waved to the three disciples, and a burst of spiritual power emerged from his hands, rolled up the three of them, flew into the air, and then said, "Let's go, my teacher will take you out for a walk." His voice was very casual, as if he really just took three disciples out for a walk, rather than destroying a top sect in this continent. If anyone else were here and saw Chen Yi's posture, they would definitely think that he was crazy. However, the three disciples did not feel nervous at all. Su Jiqian and Leng Luoli were both happily holding their master's arms, looking very happy. It's like actually going on a wild outing. Because they believed in their master's strength, they knew there was no need to worry at all. After Chen Yi left Profound Heaven sect for some distance, when he looked at the disciple again, he felt that his heartbeat had accelerated a lot, and the energy and blood in his body were constantly surging. Tianshuan Palace has a unique function of calming the nerves, which alleviates the effect of Su Jiqian's natural charm body a lot, and Chen Yi doesn't feel any big problem when getting along with the eldest disciple. But once he left Tianshuan Hall, the charming power in the disciple's body showed up without any reservation. Demon race's succubi have a natural power of charm, but Su Jiqian is even more special. Not only does it have the bonus of race, but it also has a natural charm. When these two bonuses are put together, 1 + 1 is greater than 10. In addition, the eldest disciple held his arm affectionately, and a soft touch came through his arm from time to time, making Chen Yi, who was already hard to resist the charm, even more unable to bear it. Looking at the eldest disciple who was so close, Chen Yi's face couldn't help but turn a little rosy, and he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. A strong evil energy surged from his body, and Chen Yi quickly used his spiritual power to suppress the evil fire. I thought at the same time, please, this is in the wild, you can't attack the eldest disciple here. Not to mention there are two other disciples here. You must hold back. Just when Chen Yi was thinking wildly, he suddenly felt a slight chill coming from his nostrils. He touched it curiously and found that it was red, indicating that he had a nosebleed. Why don't you be so dissatisfied? Could it be that because I suppressed the evil fire just now, it had a backlash? Chen Yi couldn't help complaining in his heart. At this time, Leng Luoli was holding Master's arm and could clearly feel Master's body temperature rising sharply. She looked up curiously and found that her master was bleeding. Leng Luoli's face was full of shock. She held her master's chest and said in surprise, "Master, why are you injured? Was it a sneak attack?" She said in horror, while looking around with a wary face. How could someone as powerful as Master be attacked by someone unexpectedly? If this is the case, then the person who attacked must be very powerful. However, no matter how strong the opponent is, she will do her best to protect her master's safety. Hu Juyu also became nervous when she heard senior sister Leng's words. She instantly took out her giant sword and was ready for a fight to the death at any time. Chen Yi looked at the postures of the two disciples and awkwardly released his spiritual power to clear away the nosebleeds. At the same time, he cleared his throat and said, "Ahem, don't worry, as a teacher, there are no enemies. Maybe the weather is a bit dry, so everyone should pay more attention to drinking water, ha 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 ha." Chen Yi randomly found an excuse to excuse it, but it seemed to be full of loopholes. When Su Jiqian heard the warning from the two junior sisters at first, she thought that an enemy was coming. But after hearing Master's words and looking at the place where Master was bleeding, she quickly came back to her senses. It seems that ever since he left Tianshuan Palace for some distance, Master's eyes have always been a bit untrue. Combined with the explanation given by Master just now about his guilty conscience, it is obvious that there is another hidden reason. Thinking in her heart, Su Jiqian smiled and leaned into the Master's ear and said softly, Master, did you get a nosebleed because you saw your disciples? Chen Yi was asked by the eldest disciple, and his face immediately turned red, even redder than before. This really makes the eldest disciple right. But no matter whether he was right or not, he couldn't admit it. Otherwise, where would his master's majesty go? Chen Yi readjusted his state, pretending to be calm and said. How is it possible? Seeing her master pretending to be calm, Su Jiqian became more sure of her suspicions. Master is always like this, very arrogant and embarrassed to admit it. Then let him take the initiative. Thinking in her heart, Su Jiqian still lay next to her master's ear and whispered softly. Master, it's true, how long has it passed before? But if master wants to, the woods below are actually quite secretive. You just have to be careful about monsters coming out, but fortunately there are junior sisters here, so I can ask them to help keep an eye on it. Chen Yi's eyes couldn't help but widen wider after listening to the eldest disciple's words. Wow, Kaianer, are you so bold? Forget about proposing a strange location, you can even think of asking the junior sisters to look at it. I can see that the relationship between you sisters is really good. But my teacher is so immoral in your eyes. How could he refuse such a proposal? Ah no, I accepted it. Chen Yi opened his mouth slowly, intending to refuse the proposal, but after he said it several times, he was surprised to find that his words were silent. This was obviously his body resisting his thoughts. Two systems, each carrying out its own. Chen Yi readjusted his state, cleared his throat, and then spoke. Ahem, that's not what being a teacher means. Just keep going. While he was speaking, it was probably because he felt that rejecting the eldest disciple's proposal was a very wrong thing, so his expression seemed to be somewhat regretful and unwilling. Su Jiqian looked at Master as if he had refused something big, and found it very interesting. Master like this is not only handsome, but also a little cute. Thinking in her heart, Su Jiqian lay on her master's chest and whispered coquettishly. Look at master like this. Why are you looking so regretful? This disciple can't run away. But as long as the master wants, the disciple can do it at any time. When Chen Yi heard the words of the eldest disciple, his face became more and more rosy. You can do it at any time. What do you mean you can do it at any time? Is it okay to be whatever I want? The conversation between Su Jiqian and her master was very quiet. Lang Luoli didn't listen carefully, and maybe she didn't hear it, but Hu Juyu heard it clearly from behind. There is no interference from the wall, and the distance is so close, how can you not hear it? Hey. However, although she heard the content of the conversation, she was still ignorant and did not understand the meaning of the conversation between the two. Senior sister said you can do it at any time, which means you should be ready to fight for your master at any time. Then the same goes for her, she can do it at any time. Strange misunderstandings increased. But then again, a strong man like the master would have a nosebleed due to the dry weather. I still have to make more tea and replenish water for my master in the future. Hu Juyu thought to herself, completely unaware that her master was lying. This woman is extremely easy to deceive. Compared with the third disciple Hu Juyu, the second disciple Lang Luoli is much smarter. She doesn't believe the master's lies at all. Master often hugs senior sister, and I have never seen master have a nosebleed. If you have a nosebleed today, it's definitely not the senior sister's fault. The problem must be because of her. Master's reaction was so strong, could it be because she hugged her too tightly? So she is so charming. Master, it's true that he clearly had thoughts about her but never said anything. It's okay for master to hold it back all this time. It seems like she has to take the initiative after returning from this trip. This woman is extremely narcissistic. As for our culprit, Su Jiqian, she was looking at the two junior sisters with a charming smile. Compared to this aspect, the two junior sisters are really inferior. After a brief interlude, the four masters and disciples Chen Yi continued their journey to Sanyuan Sect. The monks of the Divine Treasure Realm flew into the air at full speed. The speed was extremely fast. It would not take long before they would reach the territory of Sanyuan Sect. Sanyuan Sect is located in Yuan Continent, as is Chen Yi's Profound Heaven Sect. The Yuan Continent is located in the southernmost part of the world and is surrounded by deep seas, so it is also called the Yuanshan Continent. Yuanshan Continent, within the Sanyuan Sect. Dongfang Huan, the leader of Sanyuan sect, didn't take it seriously after learning that Profound Heaven sect was going to destroy them. Nowadays, the number of Profound Heaven sect is less than 10, and there is not even one elder. The sect leader Chen Yi also suffered a great decline after the defeat. How could he be his opponent? He even dared to threaten to destroy his Sanyuan sect. In Dongfang Huan's view, Chen Yechun couldn't accept the fact of defeat and just went crazy. However, because the news that one of the top sects in Yuanshan continent was going to be destroyed was too shocking, it still attracted a lot of onlookers, who stood a few kilometers away from the top of the mountain from early in the morning and waited at a distance. These monks came here, in addition to eating melons, they also had another purpose, which was to think that if the Sanyuan sect was really defeated and destroyed, they could take advantage of this opportunity to make some money back. After all, the top sect was destroyed, and any treasure buried in the ruins would be enough for them to make a fortune. But even though he said that, no monk really thought that the Sanyuan sect would be destroyed. More importantly, let's look at it from the perspective of eating melons. Profound Heaven sect was once one of the top sects. Although the leader Chen Yi's realm plummeted after the defeat, he was still a cultivator in the Divine Treasure Realm First Layer Heaven. A real fight would be a lot of fun to watch. Since there were too many melon-eating monks gathered, Dongfang Huan had to pay a little attention and gathered all the disciples and elders of the sect in the square, waiting for Chen Yi's arrival. He did this not only to defend Chen Yi, but more because he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to show off the strength of his sect to the independent cultivators. Also, Chen Yi recently attacked 2 elders of their sect. Dongfang Huan was worried that other elders or disciples would be killed alone, so the sect issued a ban in recent days, and all personnel could only stay in the sect. One who is out. Because Chen Yi was talking about the destruction of the Sanyuan sect today and did not specify when it happened, so at this moment, all the disciples of the Sanyuan sect gathered in the square had been waiting since the morning. Until sunset, no one showed up, and many people had already begun to complain. The sun is almost setting, and there is no one around. I guess that useless sect leader of Profound Heaven sect won't be here either. The leader is really making a fuss out of a molehill. A loser from a down-and-out sect shouldn't take it so seriously. That's right, isn't it said that high-level monks say what they say is hard to follow? That useless sect leader will actually break his promise. I'm afraid that in the future, let alone being a sect leader, even a dog will be despised, ha 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 ha. In this world, monks attach great importance to reputation, especially high-level monks, let alone those like Chen Yi who are going to war with great fanfare. So even if it was until the afternoon, no one felt that Chen Yi was bragging. In fact, no one came at all. But now that the sun is almost setting, many people are beginning to doubt it. At this time, Dongfang Huan was sitting in the main seat in the square. He had gray hair on his temples and looked a little old, but he still looked full of energy. He also didn't expect that Chen Yi's statement that he wanted to destroy his Sanyuan sect was just bragging, but looking at the figure that had not appeared for a long time, he had to believe this fact. When he thought that he had been tricked by Chen Yi, he became very angry. He secretly thought that after this incident was over, he would dig deep in the ground and get out in person to pull Chen Yi out and make his life worse than death. I have long heard that there is a succubus disciple next to Chen Yi who is extremely talented. He just took this opportunity to refine the immortal pill in front of Chen Yi. This alone is not enough. If you want Chen Yi to live a life worse than death, you must make his other 2 disciples do the same in front of him. The news Su Jiqian investigated was true. Ever since Chen Yi was defeated and the demon race territory was besieged again, a living demon race person had never been seen again. Logically speaking, even if a whole family is massacred, there will eventually be a few survivors. But after that siege, not only were there no survivors on the spot, not even much blood was shed. 3 years ago, Dongfang Huan was still a monk in the Divine Treasure Realm second layer. Since then, he has broken through a small realm every year in the past 3 years. A normal monk in the Divine Treasure Realm would be considered very powerful if he could break through a small realm in 3 years. A person like Dongfang Huan who breaks through one realm in a year is enough to be hailed as the #1 genius in Yuanshan continent. But only people with knowledge know that the reason why he broke through so quickly is because a certain part of demon race's body has unique power. Once refined into a pill, it can greatly improve his cultivation. As for Dongfang Huan, he has been secretly taking this elixir for 3 years, even for 3 years at a time, during which he took thousands of pills. There are countless demon race people who died. From the outside, the Sanyuan sect is magnificent and magnificent, like a fairyland on earth, and is the most desired place for countless monks. But no one knew that there was such a shocking scandal buried under the Sanyuan sect. After waiting for Chen Yi's figure, Dongfang Huan stood up from the main seat and said impatiently, "It seems that good-for-nothing will not come today, and we don't have to wait any longer. Elders, please come with me. Today, even if we are 3 feet apart, we have to find out that coward Chen Yi." After hearing the leader's instructions, all the elders nodded in unison, preparing to search the entire Yuanshan continent. But at this moment, a voice suddenly appeared, interrupting Dongfang Huan and the elders. "Old Dongfang thief, where are you going in such a hurry? Are you trying to escape for your life?" I saw 4 figures suddenly appear on the sky. The leader was a young man with handsome features, a green robe, and an elegant and easygoing expression, but there was also a hint of murderous intent in it. This young man is naturally Chen Yi, who arrived late. Chen Yi controlled his spiritual power to fly extremely fast. In the eyes of everyone, he appeared almost out of thin air, as if he was teleporting. On the surrounding mountain peaks, a group of monks who came to watch the show saw Chen Yi suddenly appearing and couldn't help but exclaimed, "That's Chen Yi. I thought he wouldn't come today. Didn't the rumors say that after his realm plummeted, he turned into a monk from the Divine Treasure Realm first layer? What's his speed? Will it be so soon?" This rumor may be false, but one thing is true. I have long heard that there are 2 stunning disciples of the Profound Heaven sect. When I saw them today, it turned out to be true. Wait, why do there seem to be more of them? 1. Hey, the disciple with the horns on his head next to Chen Yi is so beautiful. If I can touch it, it will be worth my death. Chen Yi suddenly arrived, but he did not become the highlight of everyone's attention. Instead, the 3 disciples behind him attracted more attention. Su Jiqian held a formation stone plate in her hand. After arriving at the scene, she followed her master's instructions and immediately activated the formation stone plate. An invisible barrier instantly enveloped the surroundings. The formation stone plate is a portable treasure, so even low-level monks can easily trigger it. The barrier gradually expanded and expanded from its initial diameter of tens of meters, and eventually enveloped the entire Sanyuan sect and even several kilometers around it. This barrier is transparent and has no spiritual energy fluctuations, so far, no one has discovered it. When Dongfang Huan saw Chen Yi appearing, he suddenly became furious. A useless sect leader from a down-and-out sect actually made him and his elders and disciples wait for so long. If Chen Yi is not made worse than death today, I will be sorry for the time he wasted. HMPH, today neither you nor your disciples can leave. All of them will stay and be buried with you for your ignorance." Having said that, Dongfang Huan didn't bother anymore, so he was ready to fly over and kill Chen Yi directly. But just before he started, an elder stopped him and said, "Sect Master, you are just a waste who fell to the Divine Treasure Realm first layer. It has been some time since I broke through to the Divine Treasure Realm second layer. Just leave it to me and I won't bother you." Dongfang Huan heard the elder's words, thought for a moment, and finally nodded. As the head of a sect, it would be too fussy and embarrassing for him to personally take action against a waste like Chen Yi. "Just leave it to my subordinates." Thinking about it, he said, "Well, I'll leave it to you. Handle it beautifully, and you will benefit from it when the time comes. By the way, keep that demon race disciple, I have other great uses, and the rest is up to you." Hearing the benefits, the elder suddenly became excited. After receiving the instructions from the sect leader, he didn't waste any time, got up directly and flew towards Chen Yi's location. The other elders of the Sanyuan sect looked at the elder of the Divine Treasure Realm second layer with envy in their eyes. You only need to deal with 1 Divine Treasure Realm first layer day waste, plus 3 juniors who have not yet reached the foundation building stage, to get the appreciation of the sect master. This deal is not too cost-effective. If only they could speak to the sect leader earlier, this reward would be theirs. No one present thought that the Presbyterian Council could not defeat Chen Yi. Because Chen Yi's Divine Treasure Realm First Layer fell from a high realm, its combat effectiveness, spiritual power reserve, and various indicators will be weak, and it is estimated that it will break at a touch. The elder from Divine Treasure Realm Second Layer arrived in front of Chen Yi in a blink of an eye. He mocked Chen Yi and said jokingly, "Don't worry, the sect master has said that except for the demon race disciple behind you, the others are at my disposal. After you die, I will take good care of your 2 disciples for you. Become a stepping stone on my road." After he said that, he immediately activated his spiritual power, and the coercion belonging to the Divine Treasure Realm Second Layer appeared and enveloped Chen Yi's surroundings. Then he gathered his spiritual power in his palms and grabbed Chen Yi's throat. After the elder said this, he immediately activated his spiritual power, and the coercion belonging to the Divine Treasure Realm Second Layer appeared and enveloped Chen Yi's surroundings. Then he gathered his spiritual power in his palms and grabbed Chen Yi's throat. Many disciples of Sanyuan sect felt a little funny when they saw the scene happening in the sky. Ha ha ha, I have never seen a sect battle end so quickly. Is Chen Yi here to make a joke? Hey, that useless sect leader came here to surrender, but unexpectedly, our leader never had a chance to surrender. Chen Yi hasn't made a move yet, but in their eyes, the outcome of this battle is already determined. At this time, Chen Yi never looked at the attacking elder, his eyes were always below the spectators. He was thinking that if the eldest disciple's investigation was correct, then the demon race clansmen should probably be imprisoned somewhere underground. If you start fighting after a while, you still have to be careful. After thinking about it, Chen Yi saw the killing elder from the corner of his eyes and casually slapped it with his right hand. In an instant, a palm wind emerged from his palm. The moment this invisible palm wind appeared, it seemed to be stirring the surrounding space, causing bursts of air explosions. The elder's pupils suddenly shrank when he saw the palm wind coming in front of him, and he subconsciously wanted to avoid it. But under the pressure of the palm wind, he found that he couldn't even move. Realizing that something was wrong, he quickly controlled the life-protecting magic weapon he was carrying, and a golden barrier enveloped him. After doing all this, he still felt unsafe, because the power contained in the attacking palm wind was completely beyond his imagination. How could Chen Yi, a monk from the Divine Treasure Realm First Layer Heaven, release such a powerful attack? He quickly rushed below to ask for help. Sect Master, help quickly. Before he could finish speaking, the golden barrier in front of him was instantly shattered and turned into nothingness the moment it came into contact with Chen Yi's palm wind. Then it was him who was shattered. Countless blood clots and stumps fell from the air and landed among the crowd on the square. When the disciples of the Sanyuan sect looked at the elder's stumps, there was a sudden deathly silence in the field, and everyone's faces were filled with disbelief. Chen Yi, who had been reduced to useless in their eyes, could actually kill their proud elder with one blow. This is impossible, absolutely impossible. After a long time, a disciple finally spoke. No, it's impossible. The elder is a master of the Divine Treasure Realm Second Layer. How can he not defeat that useless sect master? Chen Yi must have used some magic weapon to attack and succeeded in a sneak attack while the elder was not paying attention. Yes, the elder must have underestimated the enemy too much, and that's why we ended up like this. After hearing what this disciple said, the others recovered from their daze and chose to believe it. After all, not to mention that Chen Yi is 1 level lower than the elder. Even if he is 1 level or 2 levels higher, it is impossible to kill him instantly with one strike. As the former top sect leader, it is very possible for Chen Yi to have several powerful magic weapons with him even if he becomes lonely. Looking at it this way, everything makes sense. At this time, Chen Yi was too lazy to care what others thought. He used his spiritual consciousness to search for traces of the demon race people. It has to be said that Sanyuan sect hid them very secretly, and it took him a long time to find them. Chen Yi said to the 3 disciples behind him, "Kaianer, my master has found traces of your clansmen. You and your 2 junior sisters are here to rescue the clansmen. Otherwise, if there is a fight later, they may be accidentally injured. My master will help you drag the sect leader and elders, the rest is up to you." Part of the purpose of coming to destroy the Sanyuan sect this time was to train his disciples, so Chen Yi gave them this opportunity. It just so happened that Chen Yi also wanted to see the real strength of the 3 current disciples. And with him present, the lives of the 3 disciples would not be in danger, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Su Jiqian's expression was very excited when she heard Master's words. The Sanyuan sect used special methods to hide the demon race people, so even if ordinary monks released their spiritual consciousness, they would not be able to see it at all. But Chen Yi had a special physique produced by the system, so he couldn't stop him. Really, thank you, Master. Su Jiqian looked at her master with gratitude. Counting it all, this was the 2nd time that her master had saved her tribe. She has long since been unable to repay Master's kindness. No matter at any time, her heart and everything she has can be dedicated to Master at any time. Chen Yi caressed the top of her head lovingly and said softly, "Why are you so polite to me, Master? Go quickly." Su Jiqian nodded obediently. "Yes, Master, don't worry, Kaianer will definitely protect the safety of the 2 junior sisters." Su Jiqian became extremely anxious when she thought that her clan members were still in dire straits. She held her master's cheek, kissed him with love and gratitude, and then flew away with her 2 junior sisters. The 3 girls came to the square of Sanyuan sect. According to the master, the demon race people were hiding under this square. It's just that at this time, the square is full of Sanyuan sect disciples, and they need to be cleared before they can enter. Su Jiqian looked at the Sanyuan sect disciples on the square. Murderous intent emerged around her, and thick evil energy burst out from her body, and she was ready to kill them. Master didn't say that he would be spared alive, so she had no room to hold back. "It's because of you that Master took so long to recover. You all deserve to die." Su Jiqian's voice was cold and stern as she shouted to the crowd below, and she was about to release the demonic palm. At this time, the disciples of Sanyuan sect were not aware of the approaching danger. Looking at Su Jiqian in midair, they felt a little confused for a moment. Su Jiqian is a monk from the innate realm 2nd layer heaven, which is indeed very outstanding, but their Sanyuan sect also has many innate realm 2nd layer heaven, and even higher heavens favored disciples, not to mention that they have more people. No matter in terms of numbers or level, Su Jiqian is inferior to them. How dare she open her mouth and say that she wants them to die? This girl is extremely slender, but it's a pity that her brain is broken. Yeah, what a pity, it makes me embarrassed to take action. I really can't bear to kill such a beautiful woman. Why did she just follow that useless sect master? The disciples were talking a lot, but no one took innate realm 2nd layer heavenly Su Jiqian seriously. At this moment, a disciple named innate realm 4th layer suddenly spoke. "The leader wants this demon race woman by name. If I capture her, I will definitely be appreciated by the leader." After the disciple spoke, he immediately rushed forward. In his eyes, he was a monk from the innate realm 4th layer. It was easy to capture Su Jiqian. When the time comes, by handing it over to the leader, he will definitely get more training resources. Seeing this, other people commented one after another. As expected of Brother Gu, the number 1 genius in our sect, his reactions are quick. "Brother Gu, don't worry, I'll help you. Brother Gu, don't just take credit for your achievements, count us among them." While speaking, more than a dozen disciples rushed towards Su Jiqian, intending to share the credit. Su Jiqian looked at the disciples who rushed up and threatened to capture her, with a little disdain on her face. Except for Master, all the men were the same. They were either attracted by her beauty or wanted to get other benefits from her. She just wants these people to disappear from her eyes as soon as possible. Thinking in her heart, she was about to release the demonic palm she had brewed. But at this moment, Lang Luoli suddenly walked up to her, stopped her, and said at the same time, "Leave it to me, senior sister. I'm better at dealing with these minions." After saying that, Lang Luoli raised the ice blue staff in his hand high, and countless ice cones gradually emerged from the sky, releasing the skill ice falling technique. At the same time, a snowstorm suddenly blew around without warning, and the violent wind blew all the Sanyuan sect disciples almost unable to move. Even many low-level disciples were directly frozen into ice sculptures and turned into debris in an instant. Soon after, countless ice cones fell from the sky. Each ice cone contained terrifying spiritual power, was extremely sharp, and was also extremely strong. The disciples on the square did not react at all, they were pierced in an instant and died with their eyes open. Some high-level people reacted quickly and wanted to escape, but under Lang Luoli's pressure, they were unable to move and suffered heavy casualties. The disciples flying in the air were directly blown down by the strong wind caused by the ice falling technique, and fell to the ground. At the same time, they were hit with an ice pick. Only the innate realm 4th layer heavenly monk known as Brother Gu barely managed to dodge a few attacks, but was still unable to fight back. After a long time, the strong wind gradually dissipated. Lang Luoli took back the staff and looked at the scene in front of him with satisfaction. She had the same idea as her senior sister, even stronger. She would feel irritated even by looking at a man other than her master. At this time, in the square, the originally neat stone bricks had been smashed into shape by ice picks, and the surrounding buildings had all collapsed, like a ruins. But the once lively square was now filled with dead people, injured people, and the surrounding blood was frozen into ice cubes. Su Jiqian looked at the scene in front of her in surprise, and looked at junior sister Lang with a slightly fearful expression. Compared with the scene in front of her, the ice cubes that junior sister Lang threw at her before were equally terrifying, but their power was completely different. It seems that junior sister Lang still has her as a senior sister in her heart, at least she has not been cruel. But it's better to avoid provoking junior sister Lang less in the future. If Ye accidentally makes junior sister Lang anxious, I don't dare to think about it. The more Su Jiqian thought about it, the more scared she became. She pulled Hu Juyu beside her and whispered, "Junior sister Hu, if I make junior sister Lang angry in the future, remember to remind me, you can just hit me twice if you really can't." When Hu Juyu heard what senior sister Su said, she said helplessly, "Since you're scared, why don't you eat secretly?" Su Jiqian shook her head. "How can that be done? Food must be eaten secretly to be delicious." Hu Juyu, "Senior sister, why can't I understand what you are talking about?" Su Jiqian looked at her doubtfully, not knowing whether she really didn't understand or whether she was lying. But based on Su Jiqian's understanding of junior sister Hu, it's really hard to say. After a brief conversation, the two turned their attention to the field again. Su Jiqian first slowly landed on the square and began to look around. Just then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw Brother Jiyu, the first genius of the Sanyuan sect who had just climbed up from the ground. When the man called Brother Jiyu got up from the ground, the first thing he did was to look for his elders to save his life. Looking at the broken scene in front of him, he felt that his 3 views had been washed away. A mere monk from the innate realm, even a 9th layer, can't be so strong, right? No matter what, he would never believe that such a powerful attack move would come from a monk who was at a similar level to him. The other party must have released some kind of attack magic weapon, it must be. However, releasing a powerful attacking magic weapon requires extremely strong spiritual power. Even if you use a magic weapon, theoretically speaking, it is impossible for the opponent to release such a powerful attack. All this was beyond his imagination, but there was no time for him to come up with a reason at this time, he just wanted to save his life. Facing such a monster, he had no ability to fight. His eyes quickly swept across the field, trying to find the whereabouts of his elders so he could seek shelter. As a result, he unexpectedly discovered that all his elders were blocked by Chen Yi, and no one could get out. And it seems that Chen Yi seems to be teasing the elders, always holding back every time he makes a move. In fact, the reason why Chen Yi did this was because he knew his own strength. The last time he used his 5 successful powers in Lingshu Mountain, he had already created a canyon-like crack in the ground, as if it was the end of the world. If he releases such a powerful attack at this time, he may accidentally injure the demon race people who are imprisoned underground. So before the demon race people were rescued, he had time to play with these elders. Brother Jiyu knew that his elders could no longer rely on him, so he had no choice but to turn his head and face Su Jiqian, who was gradually approaching. His expression was extremely cold, and he joked to Su Jiqian. "Ha, trash is just trash. Don't think that just because you can release an offensive magic weapon, you really think you are a genius. I am the treasure of Sanyuan sect and the future successor. I also have many magic weapons in my body. I don't believe that you can unleash an attack like just now." When Su Jiqian heard his ridicule, she didn't feel any anger in her heart, or she was too lazy to be angry. Faced with such an ignorant enemy, she was too lazy to talk nonsense and immediately released her magic palm, intending to slap him to death. Brother Gu became even more angry when he saw that he didn't take him seriously. He also activated his spiritual power, looking like he was going to use all his strength. "Humph, you will regret for underestimating your enemy," he roared at Su Jiqian. As soon as he finished speaking, just when everyone thought he was about to release his skills, they saw his right hand reaching into his arms, taking out a formation stone plate, and immediately activated the stone plate. Then a beam of light flashed out from the spot, and then the entire figure disappeared. Su Jiqian's magic break palm immediately missed the point and hit the ground, creating a ferocious and terrifying deep ravine. Su Jiqian looked at the scene in front of her with a slightly confused expression. No, he looked like he was going to fight her just now. Why did she run away? Was the aggressive look just now all fake? Su Jiqian felt that she was being played, and this time she was really angry. She immediately released her consciousness and began to explore the direction of Brother Gu. It has to be said that fortunately the master was well prepared and prepared an isolation barrier in advance. Even if Brother Gu used magic weapons, he would not be able to escape from this area at all. Soon, Su Jiqian found his direction and immediately got up and chased him. At this time, Brother Gu didn't know that the danger was approaching, so he still mobilized his spiritual power and ran with all his strength, risking his life. The teleportation formation can only teleport him a short distance. If you want to completely escape the danger, you must run away quickly. But before he could run for a while, he suddenly knocked over something and fell upside down, looking extremely funny. Strange, what is this? Why can't I get out? Brother Gu looked in front of him with horror on his face, and at the same time he knocked on the barrier with his fist. It's an isolation barrier. It's strange, when was such a big barrier put up? No, there is definitely a crack in this barrier. I'm looking for it. He kept exploring along the boundary of the barrier, but the more he searched, the more fearful the expression on his face became. There was no crack in this barrier at all, and what was even more terrifying was that he heard bursts of sound breaking from behind him. It's Su Jiqian who's chasing me. A kind of death threat enveloped him, and cold sweat broke out on his body unconsciously. His whole body was constantly trembling, and his expression was very ferocious and fearful. He turned to look at Su Jiqian behind him. Su Jiqian is obviously a top beauty with an excellent figure and extremely beautiful facial features, but at this moment, in his eyes, she is not a beauty, she is clearly a bloodthirsty devil crawling out of hell. Su Jiqian's flying speed was extremely fast, and she turned around and caught up with him. Her expression was a little playful, as if she were a wild beast chasing its prey, and she sneered. I found you. Devil Palm. As the future successor of Sanyuan sect, Brother Gu carries many defensive magic weapons given by the sect master. At this moment, he threw it away. But as a monk in the innate realm, the quality of the magic weapons he can control is limited. Those defensive magic weapons are like soft paper and vulnerable to Su Jiqian's attack. Not long after, a shrill scream was heard. No. Brother Gu died. After dealing with Brother Gu, Su Jiqian clapped her hands with satisfaction. Master said that he wanted to destroy the Sanyuan sect. She just didn't let go of the lone disciples, so it should be regarded as a meritorious service. After she returns, Master will know about it and may reward her. When she thought about getting a reward from her master, Su Jiqian's smile became brighter and she flew back with a bound. At this moment, a group of independent cultivators watching the battle on the outer mountain peaks witnessed the entire process of Su Jiqian's pursuit of the number one genius of the Sanyuan sect. Their expressions were full of shock and disbelief, and their mouths were so open that they almost touched the ground. Brother Gu, the first genius of Sanyuan sect, is a very famous existence in this continent. He reached the innate realm 4th layer at a young age and has countless other achievements. But such a genius, in Su Jiqian's hands, could not block a blow even if he used all his cards. This is too shocking. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would never have believed it. But what horrified them even more was that Su Jiqian, who was murderous without blinking an eye and looked like a devil from hell, actually revealed herself like a little girl waiting to go home to receive praise from her elders after finishing off Brother Gu. A bright smile. This is the expression that the murderous devil just now would show. After Su Jiqian dealt with Brother Ji Yu, she returned to the square. At this time, the two junior sisters had already discovered a secret door in the square, which was the back door to be precise. After all, for such a secret place, the entrance cannot be opened in the most eye-catching square. Lang Luoli looked at the belated senior sister, waved and said, "Sister, come quickly, we have found the entrance." Su Jiqian came to the entrance and looked at the bottomless stairs. Her expression gradually became serious and her heartbeat accelerated slightly. If nothing else happens, her parents and clan members should be locked down below. It's been so long, and I don't know how my parents are doing, or if they are still alive. From Su Jiqian's understanding, except for Master, the high-level monks in this world often look down on other races. As for demon race, they are of a different race and were imprisoned here. The people must have suffered a lot of torture. But that kind of torture will not happen. High-level human monks generally have no shortage of beautiful women to serve them, so they don't bother to have desires for other races. Except for low-level monks, this dungeon can only be entered by high-level officials of Sanyuan sect, so no low-level monks should know about it. This alone was not enough to make her relax. She sped up and walked downwards. The stairs were very long, but Su Jiqian's speed was extremely fast, as if she were flying, and she could see the end in a blink of an eye. At the end of the stairs is a huge room with countless iron cages set up in the four corners of the room. Most of the cages are empty, and there are only a few cages where there are signs of human activity. In the center of the room, there was a huge alchemy furnace, with many unknown medicinal materials placed around it, as well as some goat-like horns. Su Jiqian stepped forward, picked up the goat horn on the table, and looked at it carefully. Those are the horns of a goat. They are clearly the horns on the heads of her compatriots. It turns out that the formula needed to refine the elixir is this. Demon race's horns are of great significance to demon race people, and they cannot be resurrected after being broken. No demon race will cut off their horns and hand them over easily. So Dongfang Huan imprisoned them here and directly sacrificed their lives to make up for it. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from a corner of the room. "Daughter, is it you?" This is a mature female voice. The voice is a bit delicate and weak. After Su Jiqian heard the sound, she quickly ran towards the direction where the sound came from. There were two demon race people in the cage where the sound came from. One of them is a middle-aged man, but he has gray hair, sunken cheeks, and slightly older skin, so he looks more like an old man. The other one is a middle-aged woman who still has charm. She has a plump figure and smooth skin. She is similar to a young woman, but she has a bit more charm in comparison. And her facial features are somewhat similar to Su Jiqian. "Father, mother." Su Jiqian came to the iron cage and shouted in surprise. These two people were her parents. Although she was very happy to meet her relatives, looking at the pitiful appearance of her parents, she could only feel sad for a moment. When she thought about her parents living in this place for the past 3 years, she wanted to cut Dongfang Huan into pieces with 1,000 knives. Unconsciously, she had a few tears falling from the corners of her eyes. Mother Su was also very surprised when she saw her daughter appear and asked, "Daughter, how did you get here? It was so noisy outside just now, what happened?" Su Jiqian wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, released her magic break palm and easily shattered the iron cage, and then said, "Master is here to save everyone. We'll talk about this later. Let's go out first." At this time, Lang Luoli and Hu Juyu also searched through the dungeon and released the rest of the demon race clansmen. Afterwards, everyone gathered together and started walking towards the exit. On the ground outside the dungeon, Chen Yi breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the demon race people coming out of the dungeon entrance one after another. Now he has no worries and can start fighting freely. At this time, an elder of the Sanyuan sect from the Divine Treasure Realm 3rd Layer Heaven mocked Chen Yi. "Chen Yi, can you just run around like a mouse?" Previously, in order not to accidentally injure the demon race people locked below, Chen Yi had been avoiding enemy attacks during this period and rarely took the initiative. This made everyone think that they had no ability to fight at all. The reason why he was able to instantly kill one of their elders with one strike just now was because Chen Yi used a magic weapon. But now that the magic weapon has been used up, Chen Yi is just a lamb to be slaughtered, with no power to fight back. "Let's take action together," don't let him have another chance to escape. One of the elders spoke. The other elders nodded one after another, surrounded Chen Yi one after another, and released their skills one after another. For a time, countless spiritual energy surged around, and several elders of the Divine Treasure Realm released their skills at the same time. The pressure contained in them crushed all the surrounding earth and rocks. Many of the disciples who were still breathing in the square could feel the pressure even if they were far away from the battlefield, and they just felt short of breath. After killing so many disciples of our Sanyuan sect, no one can protect you today. Suffer death, Crane Fist. Liang Yi Zhong. Luotian Big Palm Seal. The elders released their strongest skills one after another. Chen Yi was suddenly surrounded by attacks from all directions, and there was no place to hide around. Chen Yi just stood there, watching the attacks coming from around him, motionless, as if he didn't take it seriously at all. When this scene fell into the eyes of the monks watching the battle from a distance, they felt that Chen Yi was so frightened that he had no time to escape. Hey, look, the sect leader is probably going to die this time. Hey, if you don't have that strength, don't pretend. Just one person and 3 disciples are going to challenge the Sanyuan sect. You said those 3 female cultivators are unlucky enough. I'm afraid they will all be buried here today. By the way, have you seen that many demon race people suddenly appeared in the square? Wasn't demon race destroyed 3 years ago? Why are they here today? It's true. I'll take a good look after the war is over. At this time, many monks have realized something is wrong. The demon race monks were besieged and exterminated 3 years ago, but today so many monks appeared, and they appeared from the underground of Sanyuan sect. There is definitely a secret hidden in this, and the flames of gossip have risen in the hearts of some trustworthy monks. In the midair of Sanyuan sect, countless terrifying attacks had fallen on Chen Yi, but Chen Yi never moved at all. But because there were too many attacks, thick smoke rose directly around them, making it difficult for people to see what was inside. The elders of Sanyuan sect looked at this scene and commented, "He should be dead. My attack hit him first. I want to go to the sect leader to receive the reward." What do you mean it should be? With so many attacks hitting him, even if the power of Violet Palace realm comes, he will probably be seriously injured and die, not to mention this useless Chen Yi, who will probably be turned into ashes long ago. Yes, but my attack hit him first, so I should be the one receiving the reward. The smoke has not cleared yet, and the elders have already begun to discuss who has the greatest merit. And just as the elders were arguing, they suddenly heard several coughs coming from the smoke. Chapter 51. Ahem, such a strong attack, it actually made me choke and cough. By the way, if you fight, just fight. There's no need to throw up any sand. This voice is naturally Chen Yi's. Hearing the sound coming from the smoke, all the elders looked towards the smoke with horrified faces, and the quarrels in their mouths stopped abruptly. Everyone couldn't believe their ears, it seemed like they were hallucinating just now. In an attack launched by many of their elders, even if their sect leader was inside, he would definitely die, let alone Chen Yi, a divine treasure realm first layer. After a while, the smoke in the scene gradually dissipated. Not a single figure appeared in the smoke, as if Chen Yi had turned to ashes. Not seeing Chen Yi's figure, the elders breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing this scene, one of the elders wiped the cold sweat from his cheeks and said with a smile, "I must have heard wrong just now. How could Chen Yi still be alive? He must have died in the attack and turned into ashes. I'm really old. My ears don't work anymore. I'll have to find the sect leader again and take some elixirs." While this elder was speaking, an elder standing opposite him had a look of fear written all over his expression. The elder opposite pointed at his back and said vaguely, "You, behind you." His voice was trembling as he spoke, as if he had seen something very terrifying. "Behind me," the elder murmured, turning his head slowly, and then he saw a figure. Chen Yi was floating behind him at this moment, smiling playfully, as if he was a wild beast playing with his prey. When the elder saw Chen Yi's figure, he was immediately shocked and took a few steps back, muttering to himself, You, this is impossible." Seeing the frightened expressions on the faces of the elders, Chen Yi felt a sense of satisfaction in his heart. "We've had enough fun, it's time to clean up the trash." Thinking of this, Chen Yi spread his palm and slapped it towards the elder, releasing Su Jiqian's skill, the demonic palm in the demonic soul art. With the release of the skill, the elders felt that their surroundings were shrouded in dark purple, and an unparalleled terrifying evil spirit instantly filled their surroundings, making it difficult for them to breathe. The elder who was shrouded in the center of coercion had his eyes bulging and his chichao began to bleed. At this moment, when they saw Chen Yi again, he was no longer a gentle young man, but a bloodthirsty demon with goat's horns on his head and surrounded by hell's magma. A huge palm print burst out from Chen Yi's palm. The palm print was mixed with deep purple evil spirit, and everything it touched was swallowed up. The elders were enveloped by Chen Yi's coercion, and it was very difficult to even move. They had no time to avoid the terrifying evil palm print. Sect Master, save us! A certain elder shouted to Dongfang Huan, praying for the sect leader's protection. But Dongfang Huan was already dumbfounded when he saw the scene in front of him. How could he still care about them? He never imagined that the loser he once defeated, who even lost the sect battle, would suddenly become so strong. What on earth is going on here? What kind of opportunity did Chen Yi encounter? No, I will die if I stay like this, Dongfang Huan murmured with a horrified expression. He realized that if he didn't do something now, his life might be in danger soon. He opened his mouth and said to the disciples who were still alive, "Don't be stunned, go and activate the sect protecting formation." A Sanyuan sect disciple who heard the instruction hesitated and asked, "But sect master, the elders are still outside, we can't." Before he could finish speaking, Dongfang Huan slapped him directly, turning him into ashes. "Stop talking nonsense and do as I say." The other disciples saw their fellow disciples dying, their faces full of fear. They no longer dared to neglect, and quickly activated the sect protecting formation together. A barrier slowly emerged from the square, gradually enveloping the surrounding area. This sect protecting formation is very similar to the isolation formation brought by Chen Yi, but the quality and scope are not even the slightest difference. While driving the sect protecting formation, people inside the sect protecting formation could still clearly hear the screams of the elders outside the formation. The sound was so shrill that it made people shudder. Countless disciples looked at the scene in the sky and felt frightened. Fear made their hands tremble. Chen Yi, whom they considered to be a waste and who came to die, is now killing their proud elders one by one. The visual impact and spiritual shock this caused to them was simply unparalleled. Now everyone in the square has a fear of death in their hearts. Only their sect protecting formation can give them a little comfort. Those who were equally shocked as them were the monks watching the battle on the outer peaks. Seeing Chen Yi unleashing terrifying attacks again and again, and the powerful beings of the divine treasure realm falling here, they were already horrified beyond measure. Over the years, there has been almost no such large-scale loss of divine treasure realm masters. And today, they all died at the hands of Chen Yi. Even if the power of the Violet Palace realm first layer comes, it probably won't be able to do it. It can deal with many divine treasure realm masters at the same time without any harm. More than that, Chen Yi resisted their attacks just now, and nothing happened. I'm afraid his realm has already reached the Violet Palace realm first layer level. Shish, don't make any noise. Watching our seniors take action at such a close distance will also help us improve our realm. At this time, no one thought that Chen Yi was just a monk from the divine treasure realm first layer. They all thought that he had just hidden his cultivation before. After all, it is impossible to be just a monk from the divine treasure realm first layer heaven who can deal with many powerful people at the same time. And not only the independent cultivators were aware of this, but Dongfang Huan was also aware of it, which led him to the idea of releasing the sect protecting formation. Facing the existence above the divine treasure realm, he gradually lost his confidence. Soon after, as the last scream came, the last elder of Sanyuan sect also turned into ashes. Chen Yi clapped his hands easily and looked around with satisfaction. Seeing that Dongfang Huan had activated the sect protecting formation, Chen Yi couldn't help but feel a little surprised. It seems that there is no need for the isolation formation he brought, they are locked in by themselves. I have to say that Dongfang Huan is very capable, and he can really let go of the sect protecting formation. At this time, Su Jiqian has brought everyone from demon race to the master's side. Chen Yi and Su's father and mother were old acquaintances. After nodding and saying hello, they said, "You guys need to step back first to be careful of accidental injuries." Once this is over, we will go back to the sect to talk in detail. Sus father and Sus mother were looking at Chen Yi with gratitude, and at the same time they felt a little surprised. A long time ago, Chen Yi passed by the demon race territory, adopted Su Jiqian, and protected the safety of the demon race tribe. If Chen Yi had not appeared at that time, demon race would have been extinct at that time and would not be alive today. It can be regarded as Chen Yi forcibly renewing their lives. As a result, after so many years, Chen Yi came to save them again. Counting this was the second time that their entire family owed Chen Yi a huge favor. This kind of kindness, even if the demon race has paid for generations, I'm afraid it's not enough to repay it. In any case, everyone in demon race has long regarded Chen Yi as the only god, the supreme existence. What surprised them even more was that in their impression, Chen Yi was very strong, but he was far from being as strong as he was now, where he could challenge a sect alone. The reason why Chen Yi was able to protect them before was because he used his own profound heaven sect power. As a result, there was no need for it today, and one person came over to kill him. At this time, they were very surprised, but no one said anything. They all backed away obediently. Dongfang Huan, who was below, looked at the demon race people who were escaping, and his teeth itched with anger. Once the demon race is allowed to leave here alive, what he has done over the years will definitely be made public. Using alien lives to make elixirs is recognized as the most despicable behavior in the immortal cultivation world. It is something that is shamed by the world, and it is very serious. When the time comes, countless self-styled monks will definitely come to surround him and suppress him, claiming to eliminate evil in the world. So no matter what, don't let them leave alive. The sect protecting formation can be used for defense, but it can also gather everyone's spiritual energy to release powerful attacks. This is the base of their Sanyuan sect. They have taken root here for a long time and have the home field advantage. The formations, buildings, and defensive measures they use are all among the best. Driving attack formation, Dongfang Huan shouted to the disciples. When all the disciples heard the sect leader's words, they looked a little frightened. The sect protecting formation of their Sanyuan sect is the top formation of the Zan level. It was originally designed for the elders of their sect to use. But now they are allowed to be used by disciples like them who are at a low level. If they drain their spiritual power on such a large scale to transfuse blood into the formation, it will cause great harm to them. However, they are now locked up in the sect protecting formation, and they can be regarded as grasshoppers on a rope. Although they are unwilling, they have to compromise after repeated hesitation. All the disciples put their hands on the formation barrier and began to mobilize their spiritual power. Dongfang Huan looked at Chen Yi with cold eyes and shouted hysterically. Chen Yi, are you really afraid of me? I don't know what kind of bad luck you have or what kind of opportunity you have, but today, even if you are a monk in the Violet Palace realm, you will definitely die under this sect protecting formation. This time, in order to resist Chen Yi's invasion, he even risked the lives of his disciples. It can be said that he put his life's efforts on the line. So when he spoke, he was extremely crazy, and the elegance he once had was gone. At this time, the independent cultivators who were watching the battle on the periphery were also amazed after seeing the Sanyuan sect's sect protecting formation. I've long heard that the Sanyuan sect's sect protecting formation is a Zan level formation, but I didn't expect it to be at the top of the Zan level. Not only that, it is said that the Sanyuan sect's sect protecting formation was drawn by a formation master from Divine Treasure Realm 9th layer. At the beginning of the drawing, many factors such as the 5 elements, heaven and earth, and stars were used. The effect extremely scary. Why isn't Senior Chen Yi running away? What are you waiting for? Is it possible that he still has to withstand that blow? Chen Yi said that he wanted to destroy the Sanyuan sect. Although he has not achieved it yet, with his current achievements, even if he leads everyone to retreat, no one will say anything. After all, his achievements have exceeded everyone's imagination and are enough to leave a mark on this continent. But when everyone saw that Chen Yi had no intention of retreating when facing the Sanyuan sect's protective formation, their expressions became even more shocked. Is it possible that he can really smash the Sanyuan sect to pieces today? At this time, the attack of the Protector's formation has been brewed, and Dongfang Huan only needs one last push to launch the attack. HMPH, you will regret coming here today. Go to hell. Dongfang Huan snorted coldly and waved his hand, and suddenly the barrier of the sect-protecting formation began to glow with golden light. The golden light continued to converge toward the center, and the light was unusually bright and dazzling, like the blazing sun. Until the light reached a peak, a golden light pillar shot out from it in an instant, looking like a golden dragon, and the overwhelming pressure enveloped the surroundings at this moment. The rolling heat wave contained in the golden dragon makes people feel like they are standing in the center of the sun. Even the eyes of low-level monks will be burned if they even look at it. Countless monks outside the sect-protecting formation felt their hearts beating wildly the moment they felt the giant golden dragon. They couldn't help but take a few steps back, their legs were trembling and they were unable to stand steadily. They have never seen or heard of such a powerful attack, at least on this continent, it is unique. What is even more unimaginable to them is that Chen Yi, who is standing in the center of the attack in majesty at this moment, is facing what kind of horror? It's a lie. No creature can survive such a powerful attack. Quickly, release the defensive formation, otherwise the aftermath of the pressure will hurt us. At this time, the independent cultivators in the distance began to carve small defensive formations in place, trying to resist the aftermath of a possible attack. There are also many monks who cannot draw formations, asking for help again and again. Brother, let me in, please. No, 30 low-grade spiritual stones, I won't let you in if you don't give them. Even a war fund was launched on the spot. Chen Yi looked at the golden dragon that was gradually attacking in front of him, his expression slightly surprised, and he couldn't help but touch the sweat on his forehead. Okay, what a powerful attack. It actually made me sweat. While complaining, Chen Yi saw that the other party was using all his strength, and he had no intention of holding back. After all, the other party values him so much. If he doesn't give some response, wouldn't it be disrespectful to the other party? Thinking in his mind, Chen Yi made a fist with his right hand and gradually raised it high. This time he didn't plan to release any skills, but planned to release all the spiritual power in his body. He has never mobilized the spiritual power in his body on such a large scale, and the demonic palm just released consumes almost negligible amount of his spiritual power. In other words, all the spiritual power released this time may be worth hundreds or thousands of demon palms. As Chen Yi mobilized the spiritual power in his body to the extreme, he looked at the golden dragon that was gradually roaring and sweeping towards him, and he couldn't help but think of. This was his first serious move. If he didn't have a cool move name, it would be too boring. But what name should I choose? Chen Yi was thinking about it in his mind, and suddenly a bald man in yellow clothes from a certain anime appeared in his mind. Okay, let's call it this. After coming up with the name of the move, Chen Yi smiled with satisfaction and immediately raised his fist. At this time, the spiritual power on his fist had gathered into an entity. The light blue spiritual power slowly floated on his fist and rolled, as if it could not wait to spurt out. Feeling that the mobilization of spiritual power had reached its limit, Chen Yi suddenly lowered his fist and punched out. At the same time, he shouted the name of the move, seriously, one punch. As soon as he finished speaking, a light blue fist spurted out from his fist, and a woo sound was heard. This fist wind covers an area like the sky, stirring and deforming the space as it rolls. When this move was released, the unparalleled terrifying pressure instantly enveloped everything within sight. The monks watching the battle in the distance, who had not yet entered the defensive formation, were instantly shaken away by the pressure and began to bleed from their mouths and noses. Even in the defensive formation, the situation is not optimistic. There are cracks flashing on the barrier formation, as if it is about to break. Hurry, work together to repair the barrier, otherwise we may all die. Many independent cultivators who were responsible for building the formation shouted and began to organize everyone to pour their spiritual power into the formation. Not many people believed in this battle to exterminate the Sanyuan sect at first, so it was even less likely that high-level monks would come to watch the battle. Those who can come to watch the battle are all low-level monks who come to watch the fun. And these low-level monks, facing the pressure released by Chen Yi, almost couldn't survive even if they relied on defensive barriers. Although they expected that the aftermath of the pressure would be strong, they did not expect it to be so terrifying. At this time, Dongfang Huan was under his own sect protecting formation, but he did not feel the terror of this pressure. Seeing Chen Yi's confident look, he couldn't help but laugh and said, "Thinking that if you encounter a little chance, you will be invincible in the world, ignoring the foundation passed down by our Sanyuan sect for so many years. You will pay for your ignorance, go to hell." Just as Dongfang Huan roared hysterically, the golden dragon rushed to Chen Yi's eyes. Chen Yi's fist also hit the golden dragon in the face at the same time. In an instant, a violent sound was heard, like the roar of a giant dragon. Boom! The moment the golden dragon came into contact with the fist wind, it was directly crushed into nothingness and disappeared into the air like clouds and smoke. The shock wave formed by the collision of the two attacks directly shook the surrounding mountain peaks, and countless, rumbling, sounds were heard, as if they were the screams before the doomsday dusk. Although the golden dragon disappeared into the air, Chen Yi's fist wind still did not stop, and it was still rolling and sweeping downwards. Dongfang Huan's eyes widened at this time, looking at the scene in midair, his mouth wide open and motionless. How could the sect-protecting formation that their Sanyuan sect was most proud of, and the hard work of countless monks, could not even defeat Chen Yi, his former defeated general? Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. That person is not Chen Yi at all. He obviously couldn't accept the reality and froze in place, starting to think wildly in his mind. But Chen Yi's fist style didn't give him a chance to think. In the blink of an eye, the fist style had already arrived in front of the barrier of the sect-protecting formation. Countless Sanyuan sect disciples within the barrier looked at this scene and shouted in horror. "Sect Master, please, open the sect-protecting formation quickly and let us out. Otherwise we will all die here." After hearing the disciples cry for help, Dongfang Huan came back to his senses. But looking at the broken scene in front of him, Dongfang Huan did not choose to escape. Although his attack was crushed, as long as the protective formation is still there and can withstand Chen Yi's attack, he still has a chance to counterattack. "No, don't walk. Pour spiritual power into the sect-protecting formation, and we'll fight together, quick." When all the disciples heard the sect leader's words, they all trembled. The sect leader is obviously crazy. Their counterattack just now was easily crushed. How long can this sect-protecting formation hold up? Now they are all regretting it. They regret not listening to Chen Yi's words before and quit the Sanyuan sect early. They regret that they shouldn't have come to this place. But it was useless to regret, so they had no choice but to put their hands on the barrier and apply spiritual power to the barrier. At the same time, Chen Yi's fist also roared against the barrier of the sect-protecting formation. Crack! As soon as the fist wind came into contact with the sect-protecting formation, the barrier made the sound of shattering glass and cracked like spider webs. Then the fist wind showed no intention of stopping, and another click was heard, and the barrier was instantly shattered, and countless golden barrier fragments were scattered in the air like glass residue. Without the defense of the sect-protecting formation, the terrifying coercion contained in the close fist wind instantly enveloped Dongfang Huan. Dongfang Huan is located at the center of the pressure. As a monk from the Divine Treasure Realm 5th layer, he has difficulty standing under this pressure. His expression was still ferocious and terrifying at this time. Faced with such an attack, he knew that he would never survive. Dongfang Huan began to control all the spiritual power in his body and release the evil magic he had been practicing secretly. "Sacrifice, all sacrifice to me," he yelled crazily, and at the same time, the spiritual power spread quickly to the surroundings like ink dripping into rice paper on the ground. As soon as the disciples of Sanyuan sect came into contact with this spiritual power, they were instantly absorbed into mummies. All the disciples didn't even have a chance to scream out, before they were all absorbed. And Dongfang Huan's cultivation also began to skyrocket, gradually rising to the 5th layer heaven, the 6th layer heaven, and even the 9th layer heaven. His appearance gradually began to change, his body size began to skyrocket, and the muscles on his body were also expanding crazily. The color of the skin changed from flesh-colored to purple-green, which was extremely terrifying, like a humanoid monster. He roared and stood up, as if he wanted to resist Chen Yi's punch. "Break it for me." Countless spiritual powers burst out from his body, and he faced him head-on. At this moment, he was only one step away from the Violet Palace realm. In an instant, the two attacks collided. The light blue fist wind swept with overwhelming majesty and hit Dongfang Huan's arm hard. Dongfang Huan's arms were twisted and deformed by the wind of the fist. At the same time, due to the tremendous force suppressed, his legs also sank into the ground, and the surrounding floor was splashed several meters high. In just a moment, he was overwhelmed by the wind of the fist and slammed to the ground. But it wasn't over yet. The force of the tornado still didn't stop, it continued to roll and hit the ground below. The ground was smashed and began to split. A huge bottomless ravine spread to the end of the site, and the loud rumbling sound spread thousands of miles away. Countless birds screamed and flew out of the sky, like a great migration, and all the surrounding trees and buildings collapsed. At this moment, it is truly the end of the world. After a long time, the world gradually became peaceful. Many monks who were hiding in the distance to watch the battle dared to step out of the defensive formation. Looking at the scene in front of them, they were extremely shocked. The Sanyuan sect completely disappeared from this world, leaving no trace and no one alive. All that was left was a big, bottomless hole. Yes, it's an immortal. Kneel down and worship the immortal. A certain monk shouted, while kneeling deeply in the direction of Chen Yi. Hearing this monk's shouting, other monks also came to their senses. Without exception, they all knelt down and kowtowed in the direction of Chen Yi. The immortals must have descended on our continent to punish this heinous Sanyuan sect. The immortal is here. Please don't blame me for being disrespectful. I've seen an immortal. In the immortal cultivation world, all those who have surpassed the transcending tribulation stage can be called immortals. The immortals who have succeeded in transcending tribulation are all beings living in another world, and they are all powerful beings who are rumored to be able to create a world. Although they had never seen a real immortal, in their knowledge, the power of Chen Yi's move just now could only be achieved by an immortal. The immortal can stoop down and come to destroy the Sanyuan sect. It must be because the Sanyuan sect has done something that even the gods can't look down upon. It's just that these juniors, when they saw the immortal, didn't kneel down for a long time. It was more than disrespectful. If the immortals cared about it, they would definitely die without a burial place. Now they can only pray that they can kowtow loudly enough so that Chen Yi can spare their lives. At this time, Chen Yi looked at his palm and was a little confused for a moment. He didn't expect that his full blow was so powerful. If he had known earlier, he would have held back. After all, Sanyuan sect is still the top sect in this continent, so you can still pick up some good things and go back. Although he and the 3 disciples have better use of system resources, if the disciples receive more in the future, they will eventually need other resources. But if it's gone, it's gone. I want to have opportunities in the future. Now that the Sanyuan sect has been completely destroyed, Chen Yi's promise has been completely fulfilled. After the matter came to an end, Chen Yi planned to take everyone back. Su Jiqian also finished reminiscing with her parents at this time. She came to the master and hugged him tightly. Leng Luoli and Hu Juyu also came to the master with concerned faces, their eyes filled with joy after worry. The attack released by Sanyuan sect's sect protecting formation just now, and the heat wave mixed with the golden dragon, could be felt even if they were far apart. Sus father and Sus mother are both monks from the Divine Treasure Realm first layer. If they hadn't used defensive formations to resist, it would have been difficult for them to resist. At that time, they looked at Master who was at the center of the pressure and were extremely worried. If Sus mother hadn't stopped them, they would have rushed out to protect Master. Although the matter has passed, the worries in their hearts have not dissipated. Su Jiqian hugged Master and rubbed into Master's arms, enjoying Master's warmth and breath wantonly. Master, it's great that you are okay. Since Master is so strong now, we can be together forever, right? When Chen Yi saw the eldest disciple acting coquettishly in his arms, he felt a piece of softness rolling in his arms, which made him feel itchy in his heart. He stroked the eldest disciple's head lovingly and said softly, "Of course, my teacher will always be with you. And I promise you that I will not let anyone bully you in the future." When Su Jiqian heard her master's words, she smiled sweetly, as if she was thinking about something, and said in an extremely charming voice. Master lied. Every time Kyaner said no, Master was disobedient. Instead, he became even more. Master, you also said that others are not allowed to bully Kyaner. Why don't you just bully Kyaner every day? Before Su Jiqian finished speaking, Chen Yi reached out and covered her mouth. What you are talking about is the same thing as what I am talking about. And your parents are still watching, aren't you embarrassed to speak? Then again, who can stop this? At this time, Chen Yi secretly glanced at Su's father and mother Su to see their reactions. After all, I secretly stole peaches while my second brother was away, so it shouldn't be too bad. Father Su didn't react at all at this time and was checking on the physical condition of each demon race member one by one. On the contrary, Mother Su looked at him with a meaningful expression, obviously understanding something. Chen Yi felt that it was better to find an opportunity to talk to the two of them. But not now, everyone still needs time to rest. At this time, Su Jiqian was struggling wildly in Master's hand. Seeing that it didn't work, she had to secretly stretch out her pink tongue and lick it. Chen Yi suddenly felt a greasy touch and quickly pulled his hand back with a panic expression on his face. Disciple, what are you doing? Su Jiqian looked at the shy expression on Master's face and snickered, as if her conspiracy had succeeded. She just likes to see Master's cheeks blushing with shame, he is so handsome and cute. She just loves it so much. But having said that, Su Jiqian didn't think there was anything wrong with acting like a baby to her master in front of her parents. In her memory, when she was a child, she often saw her mother acting coquettishly towards her father. And her mother is also a succubus. She is so old, so her mother should be able to understand her feelings. Moreover, she still remembered that when she was entrusted to the master by her parents, her mother seemed to have told her some strange words. I can't remember exactly what it was. At this time, Su Jiqian was still hugging Master tightly, with no intention of letting go, and was enjoying Master's warm embrace. Lang Luoli looked at her senior sister from the side, her fists gradually clenched. Please, that's it. She is also worried about Master and wants Master's hug. Su Jiqian suddenly felt a slight chill on her back. Before she could turn around, she felt someone lift the clothes on her back. Then he was dragged and torn off the Master's body. Lang Luoli held her senior sister in one hand and put her other hand on her waist, with a look of displeasure on her face. Senior sister, you haven't seen your parents for so long, why don't you go catch up on old times? If you want to comfort Master, just leave it to junior sister. Su Jiqian scratched her face in embarrassment and replied with evasive eyes. But, it was my mother who asked me to accompany Master. He also said, don't delay the business. Lang Luoli's eyes became more solemn as she listened to her senior sister's words. Why do you feel that senior sister has an expert to guide you now? One senior sister is difficult enough to deal with, but now there is a mature succubus who helps the senior sister with suggestions. Can this master still get her turn? At this moment, Hu Juyu looked at senior sister Lang's dissatisfied expression and suddenly remembered what senior sister Su had said to her not long ago. If you make senior sister Lang dissatisfied in the future, remember to remind her or hit her twice. Thinking in her heart, Hu Juyu gradually took out the ruler from her pocket. It was her senior sister who asked her to hit her, so she had no choice but to obey. Just like that, she patted senior sister Su's softness. A crisp sound came out, and Su Jiqian's whole body trembled from being beaten, her face flushed with embarrassment. She turned back and asked in a daze. Who, junior sister Hu, why are you hitting me? My mother has never been there. Hu Juyu looked a little flustered, waved her hands repeatedly, and hurriedly explained. Senior sister Su, isn't that what you said? If you offend senior sister Lang in the future, just. When Su Jiqian heard her words, she thought about it, her face was speechless. Are you serious about this? Why don't you be so honest? By the way, I want you to remind me before I anger Lang Luoli. It's already too late now. I suspect you just want to hit me. As the protagonist of this incident, Chen Yi had no idea why the three disciples were causing trouble again. It was just that the three disciples had a good relationship. Let's go back first, Chen Yi said, then controlled his spiritual power and led everyone on the way back. He had just released a full blow, and the spiritual energy in his body was quite empty, and it would take a long time to replenish it in such a thin place. However, the remaining spiritual power allowed him to fly with everyone without any problem. If you want to restore your spiritual power to its peak state, you still have to return to Tianshuan Palace. The spiritual energy in Tianshuan Palace is full, and it will be replenished in a short time. At this time, all the independent cultivators who came to watch the battle couldn't help but kneel down as they watched Chen Yi gradually disappearing above the sky. It wasn't until Chen Yi was completely out of their sight that he stood up one after another and swept away the dust on his body. The monks looked back for the last time at the disappearing Sanyuan sect, and couldn't help but sigh. That terrifying punch, even if the target was not them, still made them feel like they were surviving a disaster. This is the legendary immortal who can open mountains and destroy the earth with just a raise of his hand. One after another, monks began to evacuate the scene. Soon after, various taverns and vendors in Yuanshan continent began to convey today's deeds. One word spread to 10, and 10 spread to hundreds. All the major sects and national forces also learned about Chen Yi's comeback and the destruction of Sanyuan sect in one battle. However, most forces remain skeptical and no one wants to believe it. When they sent people to inspect the old site of Sanyuan sect, the doomsday-like dilapidated scene and the fact were placed before their eyes, and they couldn't help but not believe it. Many forces began to inquire about Chen Yi's whereabouts and wanted to win over him. But Chen Yi was like evaporating from the world. After destroying the Sanyuan sect, he disappeared without a trace. Of course, these are all things for later. Chen Yi was still leading everyone back to Tianshuan Palace at this time. And there was already a figure standing at the door of Tianshuan Hall. This figure is very petite and exquisite, with waist-length white hair, eyebrows, and eyelashes all pure white, and a pair of black and white striped tiger ears on his head. Although she is shorter, her figure is not bad. If the proportions are equal, she is smaller than Su Jiqian's. She was walking alone in the square of Tianshuan Palace, with a blank expression, her mouth open, and a look of shock on her face. The cute little tiger teeth are just exposed, and it looks so attractive that people can't help but rub it. The concentration of spiritual energy here is much higher than outside. But where is the savior? Why can't I see him? When Chen Yi had just unlocked the system before, he wanted to test his strength. As a result, after taking action, a monster king White Tiger was accidentally rescued. After White Tiger took a short rest, he thought of coming to Tianshuan Palace to thank Chen Yi. But when she hadn't transformed into a human form, she couldn't get close to the Tianshuan Palace and was directly ejected. She had no choice but to use some cultivation and time to transform herself into a human form before she could enter the main hall. At this time, she walked around the square and did not see Chen Yi. She sniffed her nose, trying to find the smell of old leaves. Finally, she smelled the smell of old leaves in a magnificent hall. With her bare feet, she walked towards the main hall in 3 steps and 2 steps. As a result, the room was empty, there was no sign of Chen Yi, and the smell came from a bed. She walked forward, grabbed the quilt and smelled. Suck wildly. It smells so good, the smell of a benefactor. My benefactor smells so good, I really want to smell it all the time. She murmured, not knowing whether it was because Chen Yi saved her that she had a favorable impression of him, or because of some other reason. The smell of Chen Yi's body was unusually attractive to her. She slowly got into Chen Yi's bed, covered her head, immersed in the good smell, and gradually fell asleep. After a while, dozens of figures gradually flew over the Tianshuan Palace. This is naturally Chen Yi and demon race. Before they even arrived at Tianshuan Palace, everyone in demon race began to marvel at the magnificence of this place. With Tianshuan Hall as the center, the huge building complex spreading thousands of meters around comes into view, as if it is a large city with tens of thousands of people living in it. However, compared to the city, the planning here is different. The design of each building complex can provide different types of monks for practice. Chen Yi and everyone slowly landed on the square of Tianshuan Palace. After landing, Chen Yi looked around at the demon race people. There were about 40 people in total, all of whom had just finished their prison sentences and looked extremely haggard. He also discovered a detail, that is, the demon race people are still alive. Except for Su's father and mother, they are all monks of the younger generation and whose spiritual roots are above 3rd grade. 3rd grade spiritual roots, in any sect on this continent, they are considered to be middle to high-level powers, and their talents are pretty good. Perhaps Dongfang Huan deliberately retained demon race people with good qualifications in order to refine the elixir. Chen Yi walked up to Su's father. He was the leader of the demon race clan. He would naturally discuss things with him. You have nowhere to go now, why not stay in Profound Heaven Sect? But if I want to stay here, I have to have a condition. I don't know if you can accept it. Father Su was still thinking about where he would take his people to settle now that the demon race territory was gone. I never thought that Chen Yi would take them in. After all, the concentration of spiritual energy here is so abundant that not everyone can come. If he has a daughter who can practice here, it is already smoking from the ancestral grave. Unexpectedly, Chen Yi actually asked them to stay. Chen Yi had saved the lives of their entire clan twice, but in their eyes, there was no repayment for him. Not to mention asking them to stay without any conditions. Even if you ask them to do anything for free, they will go through fire and water without hesitation. Su's father held Chen Yi's hand and said seriously, "My benefactor, no matter what you ask, no matter what we can do or what we can't do, we will do our best, even if it costs our lives." Chen Yi looked at him looking like he was ready to risk his life, and couldn't help but feel a little confused. In fact, he has nothing too serious. The requirement given to him by the system is to recruit disciples, and to recruit direct disciples, the spiritual roots must be in the 6th grade spiritual roots, and they cannot rely on elixirs to improve them. As for Hu Juyu, she was already with Chen Yi when Chen Yi transmigrated here, so she was already included in the calculation. The system's requirements for disciples include not only direct disciples, but also inner disciples and outer disciples. The requirements for these two types of disciples are much looser. Inner sect disciples must be at least 3rd grade, and outer sect disciples must be 1st grade or above. In contrast, when inner disciples advance to higher levels, Chen Yi will gain fewer system points, only 1/10 of those of direct disciples, and even fewer for outer disciples. The techniques practiced by demon race are biased toward demonic cultivator, and the attack moves are full of evil energy. Profound Heaven Sect happens to have a demonic cultivator part for demonic cultivator to use. So Chen Yi planned to accept them as his disciples, and he happened to trust these people. However, becoming a disciple of a sect is a lifelong matter, and one cannot withdraw or leave easily. Therefore, Chen Yi thought it was necessary to ask them about such a lifelong event. Chen Yi opened his mouth and said, "The Profound Heaven Sect has just been rebuilt. It is in urgent need of manpower, and outsiders cannot stay here for a long time. However, if you can join the sect and become inner disciples, you will not be considered outsiders." When Su's father heard Chen Yi's words, he was slightly stunned at first, and then his face lit up with joy. He thought that Chen Yi would put forward some kind of conditions, but he didn't expect that it was just this. What kind of condition is this? This is clearly a reward. Chen Yi's kindness to the demon race clan is simply unparalleled. Chen Yi is worthy of being served by their demon race clan for generations. He held Chen Yi's hand and immediately wanted to kneel down to Chen Yi. "I've met the sect leader. We demon race have no repayment for your kindness. From now on, we will be at your disposal at any time until the last drop of demon race blood is shed." The rest of the demon race clansmen also knelt down at this time, kowtowed to Chen Yi, and performed the entrance ceremony. Seeing this scene, Chen Yi quickly supported Su's father and prevented him from actually kneeling down. After all, this is his future father-in-law, so what if he kneels down? As everyone in demon race performed the entrance ceremony, Chen Yi also heard the system prompt. Ding, it is detected that the host has accepted 46 inner disciples, reward system points, 11,500. When you first recruit a disciple, you will be rewarded with system points, and when the disciple breaks through the realm, there will also be rewards. After Chen Yi heard the system voice in his mind, he couldn't help but smile. Counting the remaining system points, he is not far from breaking through to a new level. According to this progress, I am afraid that it will be just around the corner for him to become a true immortal. Thinking in his mind, Chen Yi happily opened the system store, wanting to see what he could redeem for everyone. As a result, he unexpectedly saw a copy of Demonic Cultivator's basic exercises. According to the system introduction, it is a technique specially used by Demonic Cultivator, and the level is also unified. Chen Yi spent 2,000 system points, redeemed it, and checked it carefully. This basic technique contains all aspects of the Demonic Cultivator moves. Although it is not as powerful as the Demonic Cultivator practiced by Su Jiqian, the moves contained in it are definitely the best in the world. What's even more outrageous is that the training directions included in it can be practiced by people who like different attack methods. 1,000 people practicing will produce 1,000 different moves. This system is specially used for the cultivation of inner disciples. Chen Yi couldn't help but sigh that the system was so considerate. Chen Yi handed this exercise book to Su's father and told him, "From now on, you and Mother Su will serve as the elders of the demonic cultivator department, and you will hand over this technique to your disciples for practice. There are gradually more disciples in the sect, and it is impossible for every one of them to be taught by Chen Yi. Therefore, there must be elders who are responsible for the cultivation work of other disciples." Su's father nodded and accepted. Although he believed that he was far from qualified to serve as the elder of Profound Heaven sect with his own strength, since the sect master entrusted him with this important task, he would do his best to do it well. After Chen Yi distributed the skills to Su's father, he led everyone out of Tianquan Palace and flew towards the demonic cultivator department. The demonic cultivator is located under a huge mountain, and there is a huge angel statue on top of the huge mountain. According to Chen Yi's understanding, that giant mountain is also part of the Profound Heaven sect, but it is not yet known what kind of monks it is for practice. The immortal cultivation world is vast, and there are countless types of monks. The Profound Heaven sect has a place for practice for each type of monks, but there are many that Chen Yi doesn't even know. Chen Yi led everyone to the demonic cultivator department. Looking from mid-air, he saw a purple hall in the center of the demonic cultivator department. It exuded an extremely terrifying evil spirit, and seemed to be surrounded by a purple filter. If ordinary people came, they might not be able to stay for a few minutes, but this is an excellent treasure place for monks like demonic cultivator. There are many rooms in the courtyard of the demonic cultivator department, which are a place for disciples to live, and many trees are planted around them. Normally, these trees would have shriveled up due to the corrosion of evil spirits, but the trees here have absorbed the evil spirits and grown extremely lush. This place is not lifeless, but a different kind of beautiful scenery. After bringing everyone to the ground, Chen Yi told Su's father, "I'll leave this place to you from now on. It's getting late, so I won't disturb you anymore. All the disciples are also very tired. You should rest early." After destroying the Sanyuan sect, it was already dark when he came back. Perhaps because he had consumed a lot of spiritual energy, Chen Yi felt a little tired and wanted to have a good sleep. After saying goodbye to everyone in Demon Race, Chen Yi returned with 3 disciples. The Demon Race disciples looked at the departing sect master with expressions of gratitude on their faces. From now on, they will practice here, and when they achieve results, they will do their best to repay the sect master's kindness. After returning to Tianquan Hall, the 3 disciples went back to their rooms to sleep, and Chen Yi also returned to his room. After yawning, Chen Yi felt like he was swept away by a wave of sleepiness. He came to the bedside and unexpectedly found a bunch of white cat hair on the pillow. No, more like tiger hair to be precise. It's strange why there are monster hairs in his room. Could it be that some monster sneaked in while the sect was empty? It doesn't look like it. If a monster had been here, this room would definitely be in chaos. That's all, I don't think about this, maybe some birds have flown in. Chen Yi didn't bother to think about this, so he opened the quilt and got in. Feeling uncomfortable in his posture, he moved again and happened to hit something. Wait, did you hit something? Chen Yi scratched it with his hand with a puzzled face. It was soft, very comfortable and very elastic. A strange touch came, and Chen Yi felt that his sleepiness had dissipated a lot, and he immediately became energetic. He slowly opened the quilt, and then his eyes widened with disbelief on his face. There was a cute loli with white hair in the quilt, looking at her with a flushed face, and Chen Yi's big hand had just been. This white-haired loli seemed to have been scratched, her eyes were red, and she looked tearful, which made people feel extremely pitiful. When Chen Yi saw her expression, his first reaction was to apologize. After all, he had hurt her. Well, I'm sorry. Wait, no, why should I apologize? Why are you in my bed? After apologizing, Chen Yi finally reacted and asked in surprise. And right now, outside Chen Yi's room, Su Jiqian put on a very hot purple skirt and lace stockings. This outfit brought out her perfect and soft figure to the extreme. She put her hand on the doorknob and was about to push open the door of Master's room. The master is so exhausted from saving her people, she must help the master relax his muscles and bones. It happened that the two junior sisters were sleeping soundly at the moment, so this was a good opportunity to sneak some food. Although the consequences would be serious if junior sister Lang discovered it afterwards. But wouldn't it be nice if it wasn't discovered? Hee, junior sister Lang is still too young, she can only always follow behind senior sister. At that moment, Su Jiqian's face was full of pride and she was about to push open the door of master's room. She suddenly felt that the door of a house not far away was opened. The one who came out was her junior sister Lang. Are you really talking about Cao Cao? Cao Cao will be here soon. Junior sister Lang is up so late, why are you out here? Just when Su Jiqian was puzzled, she saw junior sister Lang walking towards her position. Junior sister Lang wants to attack master at night too. This is terrible. If junior sister Lang finds out, the problem will be serious. The power of the ice falling technique that junior sister Lang summoned in Sanyuan sect not long ago is still lingering in her mind. It's better to hide for a while. Su Jiqian thought to herself and hurriedly hid in the grass beside the house. At this moment, Lang Luoli had already walked to the master's door. She was wearing an ice blue suspender skirt that looked a bit like pajamas, and she even had a blue embroidered leg ring tied to her thigh. There was a bow on the beautiful neck that was carved out of white jade, as if it was a gift that was about to be opened. Lang Luoli put her hand on the doorknob, her heart beating faster. She has been preparing for this moment for a long time, and now she finally mustered up the courage. She felt a little unhappy when she thought that her senior sister was one step ahead of her and actually ate behind her back. Really, senior sister, isn't it just that she's a little bigger here and a little curvier there, and her beauty is just a disaster? She's not bad either. Master should probably like her type. Lang Luoli took a deep breath and was about to open the master's door. No matter what she said, she had to express her thoughts to her master, and she could no longer hide them. If master can accept it, that's the best. If not, then she will continue to pursue it. Anyway, she and master are together every day, and sooner or later they will make rice. Just when she was about to open master's door, she suddenly saw the door of a room not far away being opened. Under the night, a dark figure was moving, coming towards this side. The distance was a bit far, and Lang Luoli didn't use his spiritual consciousness, so he couldn't see the other person's appearance clearly. But the skin with this color is definitely that of Hu Juyu. Junior sister who didn't sleep in the middle of the night, why did she run out? Come in this direction. Wait, are you also looking for master? The clothes she wore today were a little shameful, and she hadn't let anyone except master see her. If junior sister who sees it, she will definitely want to find a crack in the ground and crawl in. It's better to find a place to hide. The bush next to master's house looks quite hidden. Thinking in her mind, Lang Luoli hurriedly hid in. Under the night, the bright moonlight shone on the two of them. In the dark night, two pairs of eyes were extremely bright. Su Jiqian, Lang Luoli. Lang Luoli was the first to speak. Master, senior sister. Why are you here? Why are you hiding in the grass so late at night? She asked in confusion, and before her senior sister could reply, she reacted and continued. Ah, I understand, senior sister, you are here to steal food again. I hid because I was afraid of being discovered. Well, senior sister, I will never let you off lightly this time. Su Jiqian was caught by junior sister Lang, and she was a little panicked for a moment. But when she saw Lang Luoli's outfit clearly, she burst out laughing. PFF'd, ha ha ha, junior sister Lang, it turns out you still wear this kind of clothes. This bow is for master. I want master to open it like a gift. Before Su Jiqian finished speaking, she saw Lang Luoli blushing rarely. Her mouth opened like a wave, and her shy expression was beyond words. Looking at the senior sister's wanton smile, she gradually changed from shy to angry, as if she was about to explode at any time. Senior sister, you also said the ice falling technique. She immediately released her moves, wanting to teach this unruly senior sister a lesson for stealing food and mocking her. Seeing this scene, Su Jiqian waved her hands repeatedly and pointed not far away. Shish, junior sister who is here, you don't want junior sister who to find out, right? Be quiet, junior sister who has very good ears. When Lang Luoli heard her senior sister's words, she reluctantly took back her moves and became completely quiet. It was already embarrassing enough for her senior sister to see her, but she didn't want her to see her again. At this time, Hu Juyu had already walked to the master's door. She was wearing a black and white maid costume, but the white stockings were replaced by black fishnet stockings, with white embroidery embellishments on the top of the fishnet stockings. There is also a garland woven together with flowers of different colors on the top of the head. This garland has special meaning among the elves. It is usually worn on the wedding night. The silver-white moonlight shone on her face, and the three-dimensional facial features unique to elves looked extremely delicate and beautiful at this moment, which was simply incomparable. Whenever anyone stops to watch, their heart will beat faster. What is even more irresistible is that at this moment, there is such a delicate face, which is exuding a slight blush, embellishing her perfection-like blush. Hu Juyu stood at the owner's door, took a deep breath, and made up her mind. Today I must muster the courage to speak my inner thoughts to the master. Just when she was about to open the door to the master's room, her ears suddenly caught a sound coming from the master's room. It was a very subtle sound, as if the owner was talking to someone. Hu Juyu frowned and thought for a moment. Could it be that senior sister Su or senior sister Lang arrived earlier than her? She had a hard time mustering up the courage today. Just when Hu Juyu hesitated again and again, she suddenly heard footsteps coming from the room, and someone was approaching the door. Although Hu Juyu mustered up her courage today, she was not ready to see anyone else, not even the two senior sisters. It's better to hide for a while first. Thinking in her mind, she walked towards the grass beside the master's house. After pushing aside the grass, Hu Juyu bumped into two people as soon as she entered. Su Jiqian, Lang Luoli, Hu Juyu, Sigma degree Rho degree. At this moment, in the quiet and peaceful night, these three good disciples unexpectedly met here. Three people, three pairs of eyes, looked at each other, but no one spoke for a long time. They were all too embarrassed to speak. In the end, Lang Luoli was the first to speak out. Senior sister Su is hiding here because I'm here. I'm hiding here because junior sister Hu is here. Then junior sister Hu, why are you hiding here? Lang Luoli gradually had a bad feeling in her heart. After hearing junior sister Lang's words, Su Jiqian's expression became more and more confused, with a look of disbelief written on her face. There are only three of them and their master in the Tianxuan Hall today. Is it possible that there is one more person? Who is the extra person? Is there a ghost? Hu Juyu pointed to the owner's door and said, I heard noises in the house, and I thought you were in there. Exploded, all three of them were blown away at this moment. Master cannot be alone talking to himself in the middle of the night, there must be other people in the room. The master actually hides his beauty in a golden house. Is it that Lang Luoli's temperament is not good enough? Or is succubus's figure not good enough? Or is Hu Juyu's character not good enough? Master actually found someone else. At this time, the three of them no longer had to hide, and they all crowded in front of the master's room door. Three people lined up in a row and put their ears to the crack of the door to listen to the sounds inside. Although they couldn't accept it for a while that master had an affair, master was still the master they respected the most. Even if they find other people, they have no right to interfere, they can only find a way to accept it. At the same time, he secretly thought in his heart that he was incompetent and actually let master hold himself back to find someone else. At this time, Hu Juyu and Lang Luoli gradually looked towards senior sister Su. It seems to be blaming senior sister Su. How did you become a succubus? At this time, Su Jiqian's face was full of confusion. Please, when she takes action, the two of you usually either stop her or help her. Why are you starting to blame her now? But now you are using the phrase, the good news doesn't go to outsiders. The three of them played tricks on each other when there was no one else around, and when someone else showed up, they wanted to push each other. At this time, the three people's ears were pressed against the crack of the door. Su Jiqian's ears are not as good as those of junior sister Hu, but she is still very curious and cannot use her spiritual consciousness to offend the master. She clung tighter and tighter, not noticing that her surge was pressing against the door handle. Not long after, a click was heard. Chen Yi didn't lock the door when he slept. As soon as the door handle was pressed, the door was opened directly. Su Jiqian and Hu Juyu didn't react and fell to the ground accidentally. Perhaps because of the difference in weight, only Lang Luoli could stabilize his figure and didn't make a fool of himself. After the three of them accidentally entered the master's room together, their expressions were all flustered. It is very impolite to eavesdrop on master's privacy. They are all good disciples of master. This is obviously an act of rebellion against the master and a disciple. But at the moment when they were about to apologize to their master, they raised their heads and saw master doing something very shameful. Abnormal, perverted master. Chen Yi was standing in front of the wardrobe at this time, holding a piece of clothing that he had just exchanged from the system store and putting it on the white-haired Lolita. Not long ago, Chen Yi found that there was an extra person under his bed. After a simple negotiation between the two, Chen Yi learned the origin of this white-haired Lolita. Although he was surprised that he saved an unrelated monster with a random attack, he had no choice but to accept it. But the problem with the monsters' first transformation is that they don't know how to wear clothes. When Chen Yi saw this scene, he originally thought of calling his disciples to come and help him. After all, his identity was not convenient here. But this white-haired loli insisted on clinging to him and refused to let go for a moment. Chen Yi finally had to help her get dressed. At this moment, Chen Yi had just put on his clothes halfway when three disciples suddenly rushed into the room. Chen Yi's hands shook due to this sudden turn of events. In the eyes of the three disciples, the scene changed completely. It seemed like Chen Yi was taking off her clothes. At this time, Su Jiqian suddenly stood up, looked at the master with a strange look in her eyes, thought for a moment and said, "Master, Kaianer always thought you liked Kaianer's type. It turns out you like this. It's okay, Master, Kaianer can understand you. But please lock the door next time." Chen Yi is now like yellow mud falling into his crotch, it's either shit or shit. At this time, Hu Juyu came to by Mao Loli's side with curiosity on her face and looked at her carefully. There are obvious monster race features above and behind his head, and he is obviously not human. With a melting expression on her face, Hu Juyu stepped forward and stroked the top of her head, and asked her master, "Master, how long has she been hiding here? When I was cleaning the master's room before, why didn't I see? Did the master use some secret method?" Su Jiqian also nodded and asked, Yes, master, when did you hide it? Why didn't you see it when I came to your room to steal your clothes before?" When Chen Yi heard what the two said, his face was filled with questions. He said that he couldn't find a piece of clothing before. It turned out that you had stolen it from me, my disciple. And you actually said it so blatantly. By the way, Hu Juyu, your brain circuit is not normal. Does he seem like someone who would do such a thing? If anyone could hear what Chen Yi was thinking, they would definitely nod and say that you look like. Neither Su Jiqian nor Hu Juyu was reliable at this time, but Lang Luoli finally reacted and stepped forward to help the white-haired loli put on her clothes. Then Lang Luoli pinched the ears of the senior sister and junior sister with both hands, and said with a serious expression, "Stop making noise. Listen to master first." Lang Luoli was not as whimsical as her senior sister and junior sister, and she guessed that there might be something fishy here. Seeing that the disciples finally calmed down, Chen Yi breathed a sigh of relief. But then again, why does it seem like the second disciple is more like the master than him? Master Chen Yi has another majestic day today. Soon, Chen Yi told the disciples the origin of this white-haired Lolita. After the disciples learned about her origin, they also accepted it happily and looked like they were suddenly enlightened. Su Jiqian's expression was obviously relieved. The reason why she reacted this way was because she was worried that the master was a lolicon and did not like her type. But fortunately, it's all a misunderstanding. After Chen Yi explained everything, he said to Hu Juyu, "Anyway, Yue, please take her to find a room to have a rest. If you need anything, we'll talk about it tomorrow morning. Master, I'm a little sleepy and want to take a nap first." Regarding the unexpected white-haired Lolita, Chen Yi thought it would be better to give her a room first. After all, you can't sleep in your own room. Although Bai Mao Loli didn't want to leave with Chen Yi, in order not to disturb Chen Yi's rest, she had no choice but to hold Hu Juyu's hand and leave temporarily. At this time, Su Jiqian pushed junior sister Leng's back and said as she walked, "Then we won't disturb master's rest, haha." While Su Jiqian was speaking, she also gave her master a flirtatious look. Naturally, Lang Luoli didn't see this scene. She was pushed by senior sister Su and left the master's house. Coming outside, Su Jiqian said to junior sister Lang, "Since the three of us are going to eat secretly today, it's considered even. Go back and rest early, we have to practice together tomorrow." Lang Luoli looked at her senior sister with vigilance. "You go back first, otherwise I won't worry." Su Jiqian. Where's the most basic trust between us sisters? Where's the trust? Lang Luoli's face is full of black lines. "Senior sister, you have so many scenes. But I have no trust in you at all." Seeing that junior sister Lang didn't trust her, Su Jiqian patted her chest and promised. "I promise, if I eat secretly while you are away, I will." "So Lang Luoli crossed her arms on her chest and looked at her senior sister expressionlessly. "What are you talking about?" Su Jiqian's expression was serious, as if she had made up her mind. "I'll make tea for you." Lang Luoli gave her a headbutt. "You still mention it, you actually dare to mention it. Who wants to drink the tea you made?" In the end, Su Jiqian returned to the room under the watchful eye of Lang Luoli, and Lang Luoli felt relieved to go back to the room to rest. Although this night attack failed, Lang Luoli was still not discouraged. The days to come are still long, and she doesn't believe that she will be disturbed by light bulbs every time. The camera turned to Chen Yi's room. Chen Yi had just covered himself with the quilt and was going to sleep when he felt a breeze blowing through the window next to the bed. Then there was a figure beside the bed. This person is naturally Su Jiqian. She was holding a small bottle in her hand, smiling coquettishly, and said to the master, "Hey, master, look at this. This is spiritual liquid. When the spiritual energy concentration reaches a certain level, the liquid will emerge. Applying it on Kyaner's soft and slender hands will be of great help to practice and other things." Chen Yi. 6. Chen Yi. Speaking of which, disciple, how did you get in? Su Jiqian pointed to the window next to her and said, "I hid in the grass here just now, and I happened to find a window here. No one else knows about it. From now on, master, please remember to leave a window for Kyaner. It is said that from today on, no matter it is windy or rainy, no matter it is cold winter or hot summer, the window next to Chen Yi's bed has never been closed again." When the first ray of sunlight in the morning shone on Chen Yi's face, it was already the next day. Chen Yi opened his eyes and saw the sleeping disciple lying beside the bed. The eldest disciple's expressions in his sleep were all smiling, and he looked extremely satisfied. As soon as Chen Yi left the bed and planned to dress and tidy up, the eldest disciple felt as if something was missing around him and he woke up in a daze. "Master, good morning." After she woke up, she rubbed her eyes and said hello to master. Su Jiqian, who just woke up, has a little messy hair, but it doesn't look sloppy, but has a lazy beauty. In the energetic morning, her skin was as tender as water, and there wasn't a single flaw on her delicate face. Chen Yi stepped forward, rubbed her head, and said softly, "Thank you for your hard work last night. By the way, why did you and junior sister appear in my master's room at the same time yesterday?" Yesterday, Chen Yi was busy explaining what happened between himself and Bai Mao Loli, so he ignored this detail. "After I came back and thought about it carefully, I realized something was wrong. Why did the three disciples stay up in the middle of the night and suddenly rush into his room together?" When Su Jiqian heard her master suddenly ask this, her expression suddenly froze, and her hazy sleepiness dissipated a lot. "How should I explain this to master? Master probably doesn't know that my two junior sisters also like master. As long as she doesn't take the initiative to say it, she can still enjoy the exclusive mastership for a period of time. It's better not to say anything and let the two junior sisters let nature take its course." At this moment, the sound of playing just came from outside the room, and Su Jiqian changed the subject and said, "Let's not talk about this for now, master. The junior sisters seem to be awake, and we still have guests to entertain. It's better to go out early and don't keep everyone waiting." The guest Su Jiqian mentioned was the white-haired Lolita who suddenly appeared yesterday. Seeing that the eldest disciple was unwilling to say anything, Chen Yi didn't bother to ask. After all, what else could the three disciples do if they came to him? They couldn't come to take his life, right? In a sense it is. After Chen Yi put on his clothes and tidied them up, he opened the door and walked out. Outside the door is the square of Tianshuan Palace. At this time, Hu Juyu and Lang Luoli woke up early. Lang Luoli is meditating, while Hu Juyu is throwing a frisbee. Under Chen Yi's gaze, Hu Juyu held a frisbee in her hand and threw it into the distance. The white-haired loli landed on the ground with all four paws, happily stepped forward to grab it, and then ran back. Chen Yi also noticed a detail here, that is, the white-haired Lolita's hands and feet can be freely changed into their original appearance, which is very convenient. But more importantly, how could he remember that the white-haired Lolita was a white tiger before? To be precise, it was a cat, right? Third disciple, how did you treat her like a dog? This isn't quite right, isn't it? At this time, the white-haired loli saw Chen Yi appearing, jumped over, and said happily, "Good morning, Master." She was still wearing the clothes Chen Yi exchanged from the system store yesterday. Wearing a pink dress on the upper body, there is a big bow at the neckline of the dress, which looks so cute when matched with her image. Wearing pure white pantyhose on her legs and no shoes on her feet, her pink and tender white silk feet are on display. There is also a slender black and white striped tail dangling behind her, and the ears on the top of her head move from time to time. Chen Yi was anxious when exchanging clothes yesterday and didn't look carefully. Unexpectedly, when she took a closer look today, she found that this dress matched her so well. No, it would be better to say that she was born perfect, so she looks adorable no matter what she wears. Seeing this scene, Chen Yi couldn't help but reached out and touched her head, and replied at the same time. "Well, good morning to you too. By the way, who taught you to talk about Master?" After Chen Yi finished asking, the two of them turned their attention to Hu Juyu at the same time. It seems that Hu Juyu gets along particularly well with Bai Mao Loli, and he even gave her his mantra. Lang Luoli and Hu Juyu also came up to say good morning to their master. At this time, Chen Yi unexpectedly discovered that Lang Luoli did not dislike the white-haired Lolita and stood unusually close to her. According to Chen Yi's understanding of Lang Luoli, the second disciple usually avoids people he has just met and rarely stands close to them. Maybe it's because of Lang Luoli's personality, or maybe it's because she was raised by herself outside before she met Chen Yi, and is wary of outsiders. Since even Lang Luoli is not wary of this white-haired Lolita, it means that she gets along very well with her disciples. Chen Yi remembered that Bai Mao Loli said she wanted to come to him to repay her kindness, but to be honest, Chen Yi had nothing that could be used for her. If she wants to repay her kindness, there is only one way. What are you thinking? Chen Yi's right hand happened to be stroking the white-haired Lolita's head. He happened to take this opportunity to check her physique. If you have enough qualifications, you can consider accepting him as a disciple. After she becomes a disciple, the system points she produces will be considered as repayment to Chen Yi. Yes, it is this repayment of gratitude. As Chen Yi's spiritual power gradually penetrated into her body, her delicate body trembled obviously. It was the first time for her to feel someone else's spiritual energy entering her body. Her voice was a little soft, and she asked softly, "Master, has something come in? It feels so strange." The spiritual power entered the body, making the white-haired loli feel like she was being seen through. If anyone else had done this to her, she would have opened her bloody mouth and tore them into pieces. Even though she was a petite and cute loli in human form, when she was a monster, she was not weak at all when fighting for territory with her kind. But Chen Yi is not someone else. Her current life was saved by Chen Yi. She just had her qualifications checked, and there was nothing unacceptable. Moreover, not only her qualifications, but also other things she had already seen by Chen Yi. "Well, just be patient and it will be over soon," Chen Yi replied. After checking her qualifications, Chen Yi slowly took his hand back with a surprised expression. Chen Yi remembered that before the white-haired Lolita turned into a human form, she should have been cultivated in the Violet Palace realm. But now there is only an 8 realm 3rd layer. However, her qualifications were surprisingly good, and she turned out to be a top-notch 6th grade spiritual root. Soon, Chen Yi remembered. After the monsters transform into human form, they can practice in human ways. And switching from the cultivation method of monster beasts to the cultivation method of humans, the change in the overall cultivation method is tantamount to practicing cultivation again. This is the reason why most monsters are unwilling to turn into human form, as doing so would do them no good. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.